is probably the most mature reaction I've heard. The reasons why they stuck with Conor Benn, insofar as they did, was because there was a huge commercial opportunity via Conor Benn. It wasn't out the goodness of their hearts. It wasn't a case of a charity case. Eddie might, at the time, I remember talking to Eddie.
I've got to say to you, there's not too many newsreaders I would hang about to introduce, but this man I will. Nick, good morning. You have the headlines for us.
Morning.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles that go the distance for your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
Good morning, Annie. Thanks very much. Go get yourself a kip. Michael Carrick's trying to deflect praise from him and his 5 wins out of 6 onto his Man United players.
Well, it's not quite coming easy and it's not quite coming, and you've got to find a way. So that's the spirit, hopefully, that we've built up, and the connection between each other and the trust and that belief, and that in the end it comes out, and then that's what you get.
Benjamin Šeško again came off the bench to score as Man United won at Everton to keep themselves comfortably in the top 4. Adrian Durham tells us the new manager is emulating Sir Alex.
It was a throwback. Carrick understands the DNA, so there's a lot of positivity right now. Even if they don't quite get it right, Man United, they still managed to pull it out of the fire. So yeah, all is positive right now.
Now we're told Floyd Mayweather is probably coming out of retirement for the money, but Johnny Nelson also says leaving boxing is like coming out the army.
And when you're a fighter, you're again in camp, you can be selfish, you can just consider yourself and nothing else, and you're surrounded by like-minded people. So it's a struggle, especially as an adult, to settle into normal life.
A 49-year-old Floyd Mayweather will risk his undefeated record in his rematch with a 47-year-old Manny Pacquiao at the Las Vegas Sphere in September. That'll be live on Netflix. Tyson Fury's dad John's been fined almost £1,600 for failing to tell police who was driving his car. Fury didn't reply to Staffordshire officers about a charge from a smart section of the M6. And Jeff Stelling says he'll give it everything to try and get Hartlepool back in the Football League. Stelling's back as Pool's honorary president after new owner Landon Smith replaced Raj Singh last month. There's more on all these stories at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The mother of a stabbed student says the Nottingham inquiry will be a turning point for society. And Mexico's put 2,000 more troops on the ground following the death of a cartel leader. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Whatever the weather, our range of services is longer than the queue at the Chippy on a Friday night. Tyres, MOTs, brakes and more. Book today at quickfit.com.
Across the northwest, breezy with occasional rain. Elsewhere, cloudy but mainly dry, then turning brighter from the south this afternoon with some sunny spells.
Very good morning to you. You're listening to Sam Matterface and Simon Jordan, and we're live on talkSPORT this morning. So Benjamin Šeško was Manchester United's super sub yesterday as they beat Everton by 1-0. It's the second match running that he's come off the bench to rescue Michael Carrick's men. They're now clear in 4th spot. With no European football to distract them, is top 4 now a must for Manchester United? Meanwhile, boxing's greats Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather Jr. have agreed a professional rematch in September. Is the only winner in this bout both men's accountants? Also today, facial recognition, intrusive mass surveillance or part of modern-day policing? Is PSG's dominance harmful to the rest of Ligue 1? And what could Mexican cartel violence mean for this summer's World Cup? This is Sam Matterface and Simon Jordan, and we're live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement. Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
Very good morning to you, Simon. How are you?
Morning.
Right?
I'm okay. Yourself?
Yep, very good, thank you. Went to a leaving do last night. Claire Tomlinson, who's left Sky after 27 years.
I remember Claire.
Saw a bit of a trailblazer, first female touchline reporter. She had a lovely leaving do. Loads of old faces from Sky Sports News and Sky Sports back in the day. It was really nice, actually, to see some OGs of the broadcasting industry.
Very good.
It did give me a chance also to watch Everton against Manchester United last night.
Whilst at the leaving do?
No, I left the leaving do actually to watch the game. See, I'm professional. Did you see it?
I watched the last 25 minutes. Yeah.
I was particularly impressed with Senna Lomans last night. I don't know about you, because for all the questions about the hierarchy, and we even said it yesterday on the programme that we were doing yesterday with Martin Keown, I think actually they must be credited with the fact that some of their recent recruitment has really come off. And overruling Ruben Amorim and bringing in Senna Lomans as the goalkeeper over Emi Martinez must be one of the best bits of business that they've done. He was excellent last night.
Why would it be a better bit of business than bringing in Martinez, who's an outstanding goalkeeper in his own right?
Well, because of age, because he would have cost a lot less, because they had some very eccentric goalkeepers over the last few years. I wonder how Onana would have dealt with all those corners last night when they were crowding around the...
But Martinez is, I mean, the comparison is between them and Martinez. I think Martinez is an outstanding goalkeeper.
But if you look at the statistics this season, the best goalkeeper in the league in terms of XG shots on target is Senna Lomans. He's done
very good. He's a good shot stopper.
And he was brilliant yesterday coming for those corners, which is a difficult thing to do. And if you saw his Instagram post yesterday with the 3 punchy emojis afterwards, because that's quite something to deal with, that.
I mean, Man United have always had a cornerstone of good goalkeepers, haven't they? During periods of success, let's say. There were difficult times when they brought in Mark Bosnich and then replaced him with Massimo Talba, wasn't he?
Yeah, Taibi.
That wasn't a great goalkeeper. Bartes was a bit hit and miss, wasn't he? You know, he was better off with Linda Evangelista than he was in Man United's goalmouth, wasn't he? Also, you know, you look at the goalkeepers over the years, Edwin van der Sar, obviously Peter Schmeichel. All back to Alex Stepney, they had good goalkeepers, and goalkeepers are a massive part, would always have been. You know, if you look at when Nottingham Forest kicked on under Brian Clough, it was one of the signings that they made was Peter Shilton.
Yeah.
You know, Clements was such a fabulous goalkeeper for Liverpool. You know, the great legacy of English goalkeepers that we had at times, Joe Corrigan, Phil Parks, you know, Mervyn Day, all these great goalkeepers and now it seems to be that the overseas goalkeepers have taken precedence. But yes, I think it makes a difference. I think also the fact that United have brought in some interesting players. Cunha was going to go one way or the other. It was either going to be big and bold for the United shirt, which I think a lot of people felt that he probably would be, because I think he was a bit of a handful at Wolves, a little bit of somebody that would be difficult to manage. You know, I remember having a conversation with Gary O'Neill about his sort of preparedness to turn up on time for training, and the rest of the dressing room going, well, how's that work? He gets to do as he wants, sort of attitude. But United are in good nick. You know, it's not an easy game to go to Everton and get a result. No. Whilst it wasn't the greatest of games, it was... You know, a great counter-attack and a great finish.
Yes.
And we got a hell of a ball from Cunha.
It was brilliant. And the way they started that move with Benjamin Sesko and finished it with Benjamin Sesko was particularly impressive. I think we should probably talk about that frontline talent, but I'd be interested to get United fans' views on whether or not now it means that you probably should, without any other European distraction or cup distraction, finish in the top 5 this season. Probably 5 will be enough. 03717 223344. And 2 weeks ago, Michael Carrick himself, when he was speaking to us after the Tottenham game, was saying that decisions at Manchester United cannot be knee-jerk. The club is too big. It cannot be run in that manner. They have to be well thought-out long-term decisions. But he is doing well, and there will get to a point over the next few months, if it continues in this manner, where other prospective employers will have notice. So how do you strike the right balance between protecting the asset that you've got and not rushing into things?
I think that the default setting were there for Michael Carrick. He's in situ until the end of the season. So there's no need to rush. And there's no need to worry about what other people are potentially looking at, because Man United will be in the box seat with Carrick. If they want to take Carrick, and Carrick wants to manage going forward, then I see no real reason why Man United wouldn't be in a situation to be able to steal a march. And anybody else that might be looking at Carrick and saying, oh, he's done well there, they'll look at him in Middlesbrough and say he was in the Championship, did pretty well there, but didn't get them out. And then they'll look at this moment in time. And the backdrop of Man United is often, it's much easier, with due respect, and this is not suggesting that he's not doing well, because he is, that when the narrative is set that the club's in chaos, that the previous manager was playing a system that no one wanted to play amongst, and the team was poor. It's easier to manage in that circumstance because all you can really do, you've got to be really gifted to take it any further down, is go up. And so he's going up. Now, when it becomes the passing of the baton from somebody that's fixing somebody else's problem to somebody that's now responsible going forward for the well-being.
You're not going to know that this season, are you?
No, I think you're going to get an indicator. I mean, listen, if he goes on not losing games all the way through to the end of this season, puts them in fourth in the league, and does it in such a way that seems to be embracing all the best attributes of the playing squad that they've got, looks as if he can deal with the managing up side of things, with who he's got to work alongside, looks as if he's got the synergy inside the business with other parts of the business, then there may be a very strong case. I mean, I'm loath to leap in for it or against it. I think he's done brilliantly well. Ruud van Nistelrooy came in and did 4 games, and on the back of that, he got the lesser job and turned to be a bit of a disaster, didn't it? And so, with due respect, I think there's no need to rush. Get your ducks in a line, get the team keeping it going, keep building the momentum, keep building the back page stories to be positive rather than negative, keep deflecting from the currency of what's gone before and other things outside of the football club that create noise and adverse publicity around Manchester United, and then look at a new season with a nice problem to have, which is we qualified for Europe when we didn't look like we were capable of doing it. We're in decent order, the background noise is starting to dissipate, and we have a look around. We've got one in our camp that we potentially could turn to, or we've actually looked around and we found someone that we think is better, and these are the reasons why. I think it's a nice position to be in.
Well, Carrick's now got 5 wins and 1 draw from his 6 games at the helm of Manchester United. United have now gone 10 consecutive Premier League games without defeat for the first time since a run of 14 between January and May 2021 when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was in charge. Another tick in the recruitment box last night was them going all in on spending for their forward line. I wonder how impressed you've been with all 3 of those new recruits, Cunha, Mbeumo and Šeško, who's becoming a bit of a super sub. He won't want to be sort of labelled in that manner because he wants to be a starter. But my understanding is that at the training ground, they think he's got something special.
Well, they paid enough money for him, so they should do, shouldn't they? I mean, if you look at their forward line, in the same way that, you know, lots of questions about the other centre-forward over at Arsenal are starting to be asked and answered because goals are coming. Same with this fellow. I mean, these are top fees that they pay for players. They're not paying for potential. They're paying fully delivered, full package money. So I expect these players, the only thing you have to ask yourself is, can they cope with the environment? People constantly talk about, oh, you leave Man United, you get better. You know, they're talking about what Rashford's doing at Barcelona. Oh, and what is he doing at Barcelona? And they talk about Højlund at Napoli. You know, there's a certain type of player that can work within the framework of the expectation of Manchester United, irrespective of who's the manager and what the formation is. And if he seems to me, and we look at the way he celebrates his goals, he seems to be a very focused young man that's got the bit between his teeth and thinks he should be there and thinks he should be playing, whereas the other kid was hiding. You know,
he's got 8 goals now for the season, 2 of which came under Amorim, 6 in the matches that have been taken by Michael Carrick, which should tell you something, shouldn't it?
Well, I mean, everything should tell you something. I mean, ultimately, if you look at the team's performance and the energy that they've produced in the games, and it's not just a case of beating teams that you think on paper Man United can beat. They're beating the big teams. You know, they're beating the big sides. They've beaten the 2 pretenders for the title. You know, the 2 contenders for the title. You can't argue with that. You know, so with due respect to what they're achieving, and they're doing the hard yards, because I said judge him when he plays Fulham. Judge him when United, you know, when United turn up against him. And get the results there and then against the difficult sides that, you know, when the players are looking at it thinking, well, we can deal with this. We haven't got to put ourselves into first gear or third gear, whatever gear is top gear in the analogy I'm trying to create. But the fact is that at this moment in time, they're ticking all the boxes. Now, whether playing in Europe, I don't know whether it's an interesting one to characterise not playing in Europe as a distraction, because all the teams want to play in Europe. All the players want to sign for football clubs that play in Europe.
On the training ground, isn't it? That's the difference.
But players don't want to train.
Yeah, but new managers need to be able to, especially ones that change the system, need to be able to get their ideas across, and you can't do that.
But he's changed the system to the way the players want to play. Yeah. So the players don't need to be told how to play that system because they know how to play it. Well, the personnel need to be plugged in and set free, and then ultimately reinforced, reinvigorated. If these are top players that supposedly represent Manchester United that know how to play in the formations that they're being asked to play in, they've just got to apply themselves to do the job. Now, Amorim was trying to apparently make square pegs go into round holes, and it just simply didn't work. And out of this ether of Carrick's arrival comes common sense. Again, I hate that expression because if it was common sense, everyone would use it. So it's obviously a mischaracterization. But basic principles of what have I got? What can they do best? Set them up, send them out. and keep them ticking over. And having games, the players don't want training sessions, the players want games. Until, of course, they can start moaning about it because someone in the media sees them that they're hard done by, and then they start moaning about how many games they're playing. But really, they want to play games rather than train.
Martin Keown's okay, by the way, just in case you wanted to know.
Who is?
Yeah, Martin, he's fine. He's absolutely fine.
Oh, is he? Okay.
I know the whole day yesterday. You know, he's big one on player welfare.
Yes, of course. Of course. To be fair, he hasn't said that for a while, so we haven't had that particular discussion. But, you look at it and say there is so many positives about Manchester United at this moment in time. And so there should be, because there's enough players in that team, and the Cunhas of the world and the Mbamas of the world that are coming through, that are making impacts. They're good players, and so they should. And for whatever reason, Amorim, this is like Martin O'Neill going into Celtic. It's like turning a light switch on. It can't be that easy. Or can it be that other people make it so difficult? It's that old expression, is it BS baffles brains? And sometimes managers overthinking it, becoming ideologues and trying to win battles. Your job is to win football matches, not to win battles.
03717 2233 4. Let's ask this question. What's the situation? How do you get the balance right between protecting someone like Michael Carrick and keeping him interested in over the summer and warding off potential suitors, and not making a knee-jerk decision and giving him a contract like was done to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? 03717 2233 4. Is top four a must for Manchester United now after a great start under him? What did you make of the performance of the goalkeeper last night? Did a very, very good job. And we are going to take calls on LFR, which is facial recognition technology, used at the Hill Dickinson last night, used at the North London Derby this weekend as well. Yep, Big Brother is watching. But is it necessary at football matches? 03717 2233 4. We'll talk about that next. It's Sam Matterface and Simon Jordan. We're with Selco Builders Warehouse.
Adrian, good morning.
Good morning, Adrian.
Good morning, both of you. I've been listening to the show, terrific show this morning, and I don't know how I do it either, but come on, I'm nowhere near your level of mileage.
I'm not sure, mate. I'm not sure. I think it's a close run thing. Adrian, ask the question. Now, I mean, are Manchester United actually quite good?
They weren't particularly good last night, I've got to say. They weren't great to watch. I mean, it wasn't a brilliant game of football, let's face it. Everton were no better, so it wasn't great. But the one moment of magic, the one real bit of quality was the goal. The ball from Cunha is fantastic. The run from Sesko, sensational. Perfectly weighted pass from Mbeumo, and the first-time finish was first class. So it was a brilliant goal and just one brilliant moment. But that's all they needed. Sometimes when you're not playing well and you do that, it's fantastic. And they got the 3 points. For United, it was a bit of a throwback goal, I found. I said this last night on the show. This was, United playing on the counter, winning on the counter, scoring on the counter. And this, in certain times, in Sir Alex Ferguson's reign, that's exactly what Manchester United did. So it was a throwback. Carrick understands the DNA. So there's a lot of positivity right now. Even if they don't quite get it right, Man United, they still managed to pull it out of the fire. So, all is positive right now.
Adrian, should we be shocked at what Manchester United are doing? I mean, Mbeumo, 71 million. Yes.
It's talkSPORT, Sam Matterface and Simon Jordan. We're here through till 1 o'clock this afternoon. Loads of live football around the grounds with Adrian Durham tonight from 7 o'clock, Champions League and stuff. I'm actually doing Inter Milan versus Boda Glimt tonight with Martin Keown, which I'm looking forward to. Yeah, we was having a good discussion about Boda Glimt. He's a big fan of Boda Glimt.
Yeah, I've made the comparison that obviously Tottenham Hotspur winning the Europa League by beating Boda Glimt in the semi-final is an indication of the quality of the tournament. So every time Boda Glimt get a good result now, I get a pile on from a section of the social media going, are they a good side now? Are they a good side now?
They are good. You said the hipsters, we absolutely love them. I actually went to the Arctic Circle to watch them play Tottenham twice over the last year. And I've got a little T-shirt as well. Got a little Boda Glimt T-shirt. I like Boda Glimt. They're 3-1 up from the first leg. We'll keep you in touch with that on the Round the Grounds a little bit later on tonight. OK, live facial recognition technology was used by police when Everton hosted Manchester United yesterday. It was used on approaches to the Hill Dickinson Stadium along with visible patrols and plainclothes officers ahead of the Premier League match. The force said that it was hoped to identify people who were wanted for serious offences or court orders, and it was designed to keep the fans and the public safe. Civil Liberties Campaigns group Big Brother Watch said stricter controls over its use were needed. The technology was also used by the Met at the North London Derby. What's your view on it?
Well, I remember having a conversation with Silky Carlo, who is one of the mainstays at Big Brother Watch, and talking about the introduction of facial recognition. And let's not lose sight of the fact that in this country we've probably got more CCTVs per square foot than any other country.
Not probably. I think it's actually true.
Yeah, I'm leaving a bit of margin in there for error if I was not right on it. But we have a lot of footage already. I don't have an issue facial recognition. Those that do potentially may well have an issue about their own activities in society. I do find myself challenged. Like, I go through airports now with the new Schengen system and the digital footprints that you are being asked to create, and the idea that you're asked to put your fingerprints down a passport and all this kind of stuff. It does concern me. It does worry me about what's happening with certain activities of the digital world and social credits and how people are going to police what you do and don't do, as we've seen in other countries. But in the interests of narrowing the gap to what it's being used for and the transparency behind it, which I think is what Big Brother Watch's mentality is, I would be curious to see why there wouldn't be a scope definition of how it's utilised.
Well, Matthew Feeney from Big Brother Watch told us that he said the force should be able to police the event safely anyway without infringing on the rights of everyone who wants to attend the game. Police should not be using technology until, at the very bare minimum, we have some kind of legal framework that governs who can be on a watch list, how it is used, and what kind of places and occasions that it can be used in. I don't really care too much about it. I'm not worried about it because it doesn't affect me in any sense. But I do worry about the creeping increase of such technology, because where does it stop? And you do have the right to some level of privacy, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing, isn't it? It's about mission creep and where it goes to and what it gets used for. And like I said to you, going through airports, I sat at the airport in Spain the other day and literally answering questions about how long I was going to be in Spain for, how much money I had on me, how long I was going to be staying in a particular location, how long I'd been here, when was the last time I was here, can I have my fingerprints, can I have my photograph? And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I've got no reason to be concerned by this, but it does make me feel that big government and controls over people's liberties is something we need to be mindful of.
Where does it stop?
We've seen it during COVID. We've seen it in different countries. If the reasons are to identify people, then the scope of that should be easily defined, and the retention of information and how information is utilised needs to be determined.
24 hours. The watch list is deleted. The images are deleted after 24 hours. That's what they say to us. So we'll see how that goes. And if you want to have your say on that, 0371722 3344. My question is this. Is football matches really the place it should be deployed in? Do you need that much security? I go to Manchester United on a regular basis. I have to have my bag checked 3 times within about 11 steps as you go in towards the game. Are these matches under risk?
But these are indications of the society that we live in.
Well, yeah, but is it that dangerous? That's the question.
Well, I'd rather be under concerned than overwhelmed by the potential danger that represents itself in our society in this day and age. So, look, the balancing between making football stadiums a place to go and enjoy yourself or not enjoy yourself, dependent upon the result, and leave everything outside. Unfortunately, We're not allowed to. We're not allowed to leave the rest of our world outside because everything is projected into football stadiums, whether it's a particular cause or a particular set of circumstances are brought into football stadiums, and I'm very much against that. But as far as security is concerned, I mean, we're going to see a lot of this discussion about security in America for the World Cup when we start seeing Donald Trump and ICE and the activities that are going on over there in terms of how the football matches are going to be policed and what immigration officers are going to be there inside football stadiums detailing who doesn't go in. I'm mindful of having big events and the society that we live in and securitizing the environments and making sure that we have no cause for concern. If we can do it in a very succinct way, with minimum amount of invasion and clear transparency of where data goes, how long it's kept, then why would anybody have a concern with it?
And a little bit of light touch as well. Dave is a Manchester United fan. Hello, Dave.
Hello there, sir. 5
wins in 6 under Michael Carrick. Should you keep him?
I'm with Simon 100%. End of the season is the time to make the decision. At the end of the day, the knee-jerks haven't worked in the past, and I'm not so sure they'll work now. I don't think he'll go elsewhere, because as long as the management tell him that his name's in the hat at the end of the season, if he carries on as he is, he won't get pitched by anybody else. He wants the job, but you've got to let the season play out. That's my take on it anyway. Definitely let the season play out.
Have you been impressed with some of the new recruits that have thrived under Michael Carrick? I'm talking about Senna Lomans, the goalkeeper, who was brilliant last night, and the 3 strikers that you signed in the summer.
Extremely, Sam, but I've been extremely impressed with the way that the past manager helped bring those signings in and got rid of some of the bad eggs, the bad apples that were needed to be thrown out of the club. And I think that's been forgotten. But yeah, Carrick's doing a fantastic job, doing really, really well. But he's not going to be as hard as a Fergie, but is he going to be as soft as Ollie? We want someone a bit in between. We don't want that culture to fester again. As long as he can be hard with the players, if he gets the job full time, my concern is, we don't want the players running amok and running the club, because that's what's happened for the last 10 years, 15 years since Fergie's gone.
It is suggested that the dressing room's pretty good now, to be honest with you, Dave. Let's just hope that continues for Manchester United. Well, Manchester United fans will certainly hope that is the case. Andy, Liam, Shoaib, Dave again, Mark, all want to come on and have their say. We'll get you in just a second. 03717 223344. You can text us 81089. We want to hear from you via WhatsApp as well. It's 03717 223344. If you want to talk Manchester United, live facial recognition technology, we'll get you very shortly. 03717 223344. It's Sam Matterface and Simon Jordan with Selco Builders Warehouse. It's where the trade go.
You may have seen it on social media, but I, like quite a few of you out there, actually woke up this morning to the sound of a big old baby crying.
It was very interesting. The likes of Goldstein and people on these channels, other channels, diving in, ridiculing, loving it when other people don't do well. That's too far.
No, that's not true.
It is true.
That's not true. I mean,
100%
that's not true. I'm not going to defend Andy Goldstein because it's not in my interest. Or I have any.
Andy, play this later. But if you want to be a good presenter and you want to go to the next level, don't take fun from other people losing their demise.
I'm not sure you need to lecture people about how they conduct themselves, Martin. But the fact is that you have no objectivity. So the reasons why you catch shrapnel is because you lack objectivity. If you are very subjective about situations, you become very defensive of it. No one's got any agenda against Arsenal. Nobody in this studio.
Well, that's where you're wrong. That's naive. Who's naive now? I was talking about somebody who works on this for this network, who for me takes fun.
So basically, your problem was with Andy Goldstein.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Well, anyway, your manager.
Right, I'll put my glasses on so I can read. Firstly, Keown, it's Mr. Goldstein to you. Moaning. Martin Keown moaning like he's been bitten on the backside by Win the Dog. Let me just remind you, Martin Keown, Arsenal just beat the worst Spurs team ever, and you're screaming about it. A few days ago, you drew with bottom-place Wolves, and the so-called invincible Martin Keown, by the way, started just 3 games that season, 2 more than David Bentley, so calm down, starts crying like a tiny baby version of Kevin Keegan.
Michael Carrick's praised the attitude of Benjamin Sesko. He came off the bench to score for the 3rd time in 4 games. And our chief football anchor, Adrian Durham, says Carrick just understands the Man United DNA.
This was, United playing on the counter, winning on the counter, scoring on the counter. And this, in certain times, in Sir Alex Ferguson's reign, that's exactly what Manchester United did.
United are 4th and dreaming of Champions League football. Carrick's won 5 of his 6 games so far.
What a start. Would you give him, here's one for you. Would you give him the job right now? Give us a call. Neither would I.
That's that sorted then. Meanwhile, Everton are 9th, but have no wins in their last 7 at home. So is Hill Dickinson having a psychological effect?
Maybe it is, but let's be fair. We could say it about all teams. Lots of teams who've gone to new stadiums found it difficult. Yeah.
David Moyes told us Everton didn't show enough self-belief in the first half. Now, Floyd Mayweather's coming out of retirement for a rematch with a 47-year-old Manny Pacquiao. Mayweather will be 49 when they meet 11 years after he beat Pacquiao on points. Speaking over the weekend, talkSPORT's boxing expert Adam Catterall says he'd be interested to watch it.
They're both as retired as each other. They're both as active as each other. It's got that nostalgia feel to it. I don't think I'd be too against that, to be fair.
Netflix will broadcast Mayweather versus Pacquiao from the Las Vegas Sphere in September. And talkSPORT's Jeff Stelling says he's incredibly proud to once again be honorary president of Hartlepool. Jeff's reinstatement comes after Pool's previous owner, Raj Singh, was replaced by Landon Smith last month. Get more on the website at talksport.com.
Just want to say, the live recognition, I hope they're not run by VAR refs, says George in Bexley. Keep your texts and your tweets coming.
They'd never nick anyone, would they? Because it'd take about 15 minutes for each one.
And then get away. 03717223344 is the WhatsApp number, 81089 on the text. There's nothing wrong with facial recognition at games. It's the same situation with ice at events in America. If you haven't done anything wrong or you're not illegal, you'll be fine. People need to understand Carrick needs to achieve top 3 as his targets. You have to target Villa if they drop points, which I believe they will, and I'll feel they'll win the Europa League under Unai Emery. Top 3 is within his grasp. They're only 3 points behind Aston Villa, aren't they?
It is now, absolutely. I mean, ultimately, the same people that saying he's got to target top 3 would have probably pulled their arms off the shoulder for top 4. But that's nothing wrong with that. Keep moving the goalposts to try and get people to the highest level. I mean, it's well within their gift. I mean, the top 4, top 3. If you do the job of getting yourself into a situation where you're playing European competition next year against the backdrop of a chaotic season, against the backdrop of a season that seemed to be more and more degrading Manchester United as a team, and now you've got yourself together again, all of a sudden these players are looking like the footballers that they were paid huge amounts of money for, and representing the club that they represent, because they seem to have lost their way in that. My big criticism of Man United players is, have you forgotten who you play for?
But it's a massive difference playing in not just European football, the Champions League compared to the Europa League. If you think for every £1 you get as a business for the Champions League, you get 22 pence in the Europa League.
But it's interesting, people were comparing the stats of Tottenham Hotspur achieving in the Champions League, qualifying automatically from the Champions League, yet they languish 16th in the Premier League. You've got Newcastle not hitting the heights of previous seasons, but qualifying through the Champions League. I mean, they're pretty much qualified now after they beat Carrick 6-1, haven't they? So with all that in mind, you know, and one of the answers that Anthony Gordon said about playing in Europe is that the top sides, they come at you and have a go at you, whereas it's more difficult playing in the Premier League because of different styles and different. So you know, it's 6 of one, half a dozen the other. The monetary side of things, the aspirational side of things, the player culture of wanting to play in Europe when they're not moaning about how many games they're playing, all leads you to Europe. But the reality of it is that the Premier League is still proving to be the hardest league for them all.
Andy's a Manchester United fan, and Andy, I'm sure you won't mind going to Old Trafford more often next season if it means you're playing in the Champions League.
No, that's it. I mean, firstly, thank you for having me on. Great show, lads. Thank God Martin's not here today. I couldn't stand listening to him witter on yesterday. Honestly, invincible. I think a strong wind will blow him over. But, anyway,
he's got some good points, and he's a good lad behind the scenes. Trust me.
Honestly, every time he comes on, it's drama. Poor Arsenal, poor me. It's pathetic. Anyway, on to United. I think if you're talking about Carrick being manager, I like the style of manager. I think it reflects so poorly on Amorim and this new generation of kind of philosophy first managers before results, before performance. They just care about their philosophy. I like Carrick. I like Steve Holland as a coach. I think you've got sensible old heads in there. They're getting the best out of the players. Players like Mbeumo, Cunha, Ahmad. They're all playing out of position. They're all like number 10s bought for Amorim. But they're being coached well, and that's the difference between like the Amorims and the Carricks and Steve Holland. So if Carrick gets a job, great. If not, it's got to be someone like that with, as I said, an old head, a sensible way of doing things. Not one of these new generation Liam Rossinias, talking about assignments and rubbish like that. That's where I am with it.
Andy, thank you very much. 03717223344. Good call from Andy. There's no other job he would want, and there's no bigger club that might want him. No need to rush. Players still in the honeymoon period, and Steve Holland's appointment is genius, says one texter.
Yes, I mean, it's always very good to see the vision when it arrives, isn't it? Currently, the vision's arrived. I mean, Steve Holland, is a very good coach and has done well. I imagine this environment. It's a big difference between doing it for 6 games and then being in a situation where you're not picking up someone else's mess. Everyone's looking at you. It's about you now. It's about your team. It's about what you do and the expectations. Right now, what is a wonderful situation for Michael Carrick and Steve Holland is the expectations of Man United fans have been worn down to a nub. They're just grateful for a team that performs at a decent level now. That will change again because Man United was built upon winning. Has been certainly during the Premier League era, so it will soon reignite its flames of expectation rather than gratitude for a few decent performances, and it'll be on top again. And in that space, that's where you've got to try and close your eyes if you're the owners of Manchester United, insofar as the Glazers get involved in these decisions, but the football ownership that takes decisions and makes decisions, takes responsibility of them. Close your eyes, put Carrick in difficult situations, put him in spaces where it's on top and the expectation levels, and try and almost create a sort of virtual reality world in your own mind's eye of what it looks like when someone's under pressure.
Yeah.
And that's when you can find a way to make decisions, because ultimately you're seeing the best version of Michael Carrick, you're seeing the best version of Man United against what you've seen before. And the previous caller was right. It makes other people look poor.
But what you do have with Michael Carrick is you have a frame of reference, don't you, Liam, who's just phoned us? And the frame of reference is the fact that, hey, he's doing very well at the moment, coming into a difficult situation. He has managed a club in Middlesbrough in the league before, but also he knows what it's like to play in Manchester United's greatest teams. He's been part of that. He knows what it's like to win the Champions League wearing that red shirt, to walk down that tunnel and onto that pitch. He understands that weight of expectation that comes with being the Manchester United boss, Liam.
Yes, it does. Great show as always. Simon, I think you're amazing.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you.
Like I say, Michael Carrick should be judged on results, and so far he's got five wins out of 6. Hopefully that continues this season. If that continues, I think he should get like a year's contract just to see how he does through a full season with Champions League football. Then obviously, hopefully we can build on that. Like the previous caller said, we don't want to jump into any rash decisions, making knee-jerk signings, this, that and the other, like we've done previous. So it would be good to see how it does for a full season rather than just maybe 3 seasons, then it falling at first hurdle after 6-10 matches and then sacking him again. Which doesn't seem right. So I think try and see how we get on for the rest of the season, because it is a results-based game at the end of the day.
Absolutely is. Liam, thank you very much. 03717223344. Shoaib is a Manchester United fan. Hello.
Hello, good morning. Simon, great to finally get to speak to you. I've called a couple of times, but never got onto this show. Simon, I know you said, I think when Carrick was first announced, you backed Unai Emery to kind of be the best in class in the Premier League to take over. If the roles were reversed in terms of Aston Villa not qualifying for the Champions League and Manchester United do qualify, would you reverse that decision as well, or would you still back it?
Well, it depends upon the circumstances, doesn't it? I mean, ultimately, Villa have a certain size of squad. They're competing meaningfully in Europe. If they were to go and win the European competition that they're competing in and drop out of the top four spots in the Premier League, they'd still be in the Champions League the following season. They still would have achieved what I consider to be meaningful outcomes with far lesser budget, hampered and hindered by the challenges that PSR puts on clubs like Aston Villa and Newcastle.
And the UEFA constraints that they're under.
And the UEFA constraints that they're under, and you know, ultimately significant ones because they've had to do deals with the UEFA to keep themselves in a position of being able to operate. I think most of what Unai Emery does is of a very high level. I think his track record speaks for itself. Okay, we can look at that window of time at Arsenal where it's like following Alex Ferguson at Man United when David Moyes took over and was given no chance to do it. There was always this challenge when you follow someone behind them, and a person that's been a sort of a legacy manager, that you're always going to have this challenge. But yeah, no, I don't think I would. I don't think I would. I think he's that good a manager.
I kind of agree with you, actually, because I think it's all well and good in isolation with this new manager bounce of beating Arsenal, beating City, and going on the run that he has so far. But then, like you say, the optics change for next season, because if you are into the Champions League, are you able to be the best of the Spanish teams, the Italian teams, the French teams, etc., etc.? That's really...
But it's incumbent then, isn't it, for the hierarchy to give him the squad from which he can generate a team that can do that job and take on those big teams, which is sometimes what they don't do. You know, they spend a bit of money to get to the Champions League, and then they don't reinvest to be able to allow them to compete when they get there. And it's also a bit of trust from the hierarchy to see how he's behaved behind the scenes, what his game plans have been so far, and whether they believe that he's got the tools to be able to take on those very sophisticated teams that he's going to come up against in the Champions League. They've got to be able to foresee that, haven't they? Shoaib, thank you very much for your call. Appreciate that. Let's get to Ryan, who is a facial software engineer. Let's speak to him about what happened last night at the Hill Dick and Sunday's North London derby. Hello, Ryan.
Hi guys, great show as always. Simon, great to speak to you, and I always appreciate listening to someone who's got a little bit of common sense, so much appreciated for that, mate.
Thanks, mate.
So what I wanted to weigh in on is basically I'm a CCTV engineer, and I set up facial recognition cameras all over the place. And one thing I will say is that first and foremost, that technology has always been there. That's not a new thing. It is there. It's prevalent. It is everywhere, as Simon well alluded to. And what I want to kind of let people know is that I want people to feel safe with this and encourage people that it is actually a good thing. Now, I completely agree that it is a little bit big brothery at times. However, as Simon said, if you've not done anything wrong, you're not going to be in these databases. And this software and the equipment is now there to keep people and the public safe. And, you know, I'm really proud of the fact that I worked with this kit, and I managed to catch people, and I managed to put the right people in the right places, if you know what I mean. A big thing that people, I guess, need to educate themselves on more is the GDPR side of things, and how long people do hold recordings for. If they say that they hold the recordings for 24 hours, they have a legal obligation to hold that for 24 hours. If it is any more or any less, they cannot prosecute you for that. And the laws around that are very stringent and very strict. If there's no signage up and if you adequately can't see the signage, that's also not a case plausible for them to use your footage. So I guess what I'm trying to push here is that the facial recognition, the CCTV, it is a good thing, and I don't want us to scaremonger everybody into thinking that it's it's a bad thing.
No, and absolutely. I think we both said that we don't really have a problem with it as long as it isn't mission creep. And I suppose the question is how necessary is it at football matches? Why do the police believe that at football matches they're going to catch people who have made serious violent crimes or they've been involved in the breaching of court orders? Why at football matches do they feel that they're going to catch more people? And do they actually pick people up?
So, really good question, that. So, I think one of the main reasons to do it at football matches is stupid as it sounds, you get a pure volume of people that go to the same place at the same time. You might not always get that around a city centre, and as well as that, around a city centre, around side streets, they can't necessarily use that facial recognition footage, purely because that would be a breach of the GDPR laws, as I previously alluded to. So around a football stadium, when you purchase your season ticket, when you go to the games, there will be a little fine print that tells you that this stuff will be in place. That is agreeing to it. And by agreeing to it and by being at a football game, as we're all aware, people will do whatever they can to go and watch the football team, whether they're a violent criminal or not. And if that's been identified by the police as a place where they think that they can catch people and they think that they can catch a higher volume of people, I think that there's no harm in that. It's keeping
as long as the data backs it up, right? Because there's no point in just doing it on the feeling is that it might generate a lot of arrests by putting them at football grounds. There's got to be a reason behind it. They've got to be able to justify that. And one more question before I let you go, and I know we've got a break, so I wanted to get to this. There was a report in one of the papers back in December which said that technology isn't 100%, and sometimes. And the Home Office have admitted that it's more likely to incorrectly identify black and Asian people than their white counterparts on some settings. So is it 100% foolproof, this kit?
Now, I don't want to... Again, I spoke at the start about how I appreciate Simon for common sense. His camera equipment, it isn't racist. It isn't identified by people running the cameras. It is an AI database and AI technology that's picking these people up. You are just as likely as a white person, as a black person, as an Asian person, of any community, any background, to be picked up by this camera than not, or these cameras. They purely have facial images of people, and they're in a system, and as soon as they match up that image to that person, it will bring that person's database up.
Okay.
Now, the pictures are that clear and are that in-depth, you can so incredibly clearly tell who is who from a camera picture, and that can be shown from miles and miles and miles and miles away.
Wow.
So I don't want anybody to think that is racial profiling, etc., because quite purely it isn't. If any case, it will be user error, and that's fact.
Ryan, thank you very much. Appreciate that. It was quite an insight actually from Ryan, who's a Nottingham Forest fan, but he's also a facial recognition engineer, giving us a little bit of insight about the technology that was on display last night at the North London Derby, on Sunday at the North London Derby, and last night at the Hill Dickinson Stadium, where Everton were beaten by Manchester United by a goal to nil. If you want to react, 03717223344. This is talkSPORT.
Darren, good morning, mate. How are you?
Morning, Darren.
Good morning. Not bad, yourself?
Very well, thanks. Thanks for taking the time to call us. What did you think yesterday? What's your views?
Well, the end of the day, it's a bit of karma for Tottenham, isn't it? Going off for the back of what they did last season, the fans-wise, the mentality. Oh yeah, we'd rather lose a game so Arsenal don't win the league. So looks like they'll be in a relegation battle now, and it's come back to haunt them.
You must be pleased with a lot of the performances yesterday. Gyökeres, it's still a little bit of a doubt in people's minds because obviously they spent a lot of money. And he's had in different games at times, but he was brilliant yesterday. Best performance with an Arsenal shirt on, definitely.
At the end of the day, he holds up the play well. You know what I mean? He brings other players into action and all that. And Arsenal lately, well, they're a team scoring team. You know what I mean? End of the day, it's not an individual. They can score goals from anywhere, But yeah, it's going to have there's plenty of points to play for. We're up against Man City at the end of the day. And you know what the score is to them. It's going to be down to the last 2 games.
Yeah.
2 or 3 games, you know what I mean? At the end of the day. It's a marathon in this league now. It's not a sprint.
Brilliant, Dan. Thanks for your call, pal. We're going to move on. Thank you very much for taking the time to call us. We've got Paul. Paul's a Spurs fan. Maybe not just as happy this morning, Paul.
No, mate, I've got disgrace really from our team. I wanted to phone up and talk about, no one seems to be talking about it. The foul by Kolo Muani on Gabriel yesterday.
Yes.
Shocking decision. Shocking decision.
It's talkSPORT, Sam Matterface and Simon Jordan today, and we're here through till 1 o'clock. Lots to get through today. Is football acting tough against displays of racism on and off the field? Benfica's Gianluca Prestiani received a provisional 1-match suspension after Real Madrid's Vinicius Jr. reported alleged racist abuse during last week's Champions League meeting. Let's speak to Paul Elliott, anti-racism campaigner, former Premier League footballer and Charlton vice-chairman, who joins us on the line now. Hi, Paul. Nice to speak to you again.
Good morning to you, Sam. Morning, Simon.
Look, this means that the Argentine winger is set to miss the second leg in Madrid tomorrow. Now, he hasn't been found guilty of any offence. So banning him before guilt has been accepted, is that a slippery slope or is it standard HR procedure?
Well, I think you've just got to fundamentally, Sam, look at the rules. Under Article 14 of UEFA's rules, it allows for a temporary suspension if their EDI, their ethics disciplinary inspector, finds evidence that meets their threshold, which is obviously beyond reasonable doubt that there's obviously something inappropriately that was said. So with that, maximising and optimising that to the full, they've obviously made a decision, and I think it's the correct decision to obviously offer a one match in advance for the player. And I think also, Sam, this is about zero tolerance. This sends out a really, really strong message for me at the end of the day. I've spoken about, there's a lot of words going around, but it's about serious action, zero tolerance. And I think that message will actually send, it's no precedent because that's embedded within their governance framework. So they're applying the rules, and I'm sure, that will set a really strong message for what's to come, obviously, once a full process is taken place.
You said beyond reasonable doubt in terms of the evidence against him, and that's why they've been able to invoke this article. And there are a lot of witness statements from people that were on the pitch who claim to have heard the accusation of racism. Now, obviously, he has come out and denied the allegation and has pled not guilty. And he has denied any racial abusing of Vinicius Junior. And Benfica actually said they're going to appeal against this decision, even though they believe it's unlikely to have any practical effect before Wednesday's game. How difficult is it for UEFA to prove that Vinicius Junior was racially abused by Prestiani?
Well, it's not straightforward. However, I think at the end of the day, you have to look at the salient points here, and I think that ultimately it's one word, effectively, Sam, one player against another. I mean, if we strip it all down, one person is saying one thing.
Well, it's a couple of players against the other, isn't it?
And you've had Mbappe that's actually said that he heard the word monkey being used 5 times. So I think you have to collate the whole evidence. I just don't think you can base it on what somebody has said against somebody what hasn't said. That's why you've got the EDI team. That's why you've got the process in place. And I'm personally convinced that once a decision is made, I think the decision will be when I was playing football. But the difference is there's more robust legislation. So it's about the consistent application of that legislation and then applying, once you've gone through that process, applying the strongest possible sanctions available.
And what should those punishments be, Simon, if someone is found guilty?
Well, we were discussing it last week with Paul. It's a criminal offence. So if you racially abuse someone, it's a hate crime. It's a criminal offence. So it should. I'm very keen to make people accountable. I don't like the idea that when somebody does something, it gets extrapolated up to everything is institutionally or systemically racist. I want people to be accountable for their actions, and that's one of the issues that I have when people say things about environments. If this young man, first of all, he put a shirt over his mouth, so there is a concern about why that needs to be done. So obviously something has been said of an abusive nature. I personally agree with Paul that there are robust applications. I see the players. I saw the Wolves players saying that people aren't doing anything about this. Well, they are. People are being put in prison. You're seeing people like Jonathan Best and other people that have been sanctioned, put in prison, have had prison custodial sentences for racially abusing players on social media. Yes, of course, we can argue about the idea that the platforms themselves need to get around anonymity and start being more consequential themselves. But in this instance, if you racially abuse a player on a football field, you should be subject to the same consequences if you did it in society.
And if you did it in any other job, which is gross misconduct, you would be fired, let alone be suspended. Police have also warned that directing online racist abuse at Premier League footballers, which happened over the weekend, we saw it with Wes Fofana, 3 other players, Tolu Arakadore, Sunderland midfielder Romain Mundle, and Hannibal Medjbri as well, all received racist abuse over the weekend. There are opening investigations into 4 separate incidents that have happened, but they've said that you can't hide behind their keyboards. The problem here is that it seems that you can, doesn't it, Paul? What do social media companies have to do to stop this from being a proliferation?
Well, the truth and the reality of the matter, Sam, is that the social media companies are exceedingly powerful. And at the moment, all what they can do, obviously they've got this body of evidence. They obviously then, I think where we need to go now, this isn't just about the Online Safety Act. Simon articulated very, very well that these people are cowards. They're hiding behind keyboards. I just think now we've just got to really sort of strip this all out and actually say, you can go through all these layers and process and I get protocol, but I think we are in a position now. If I went onto the street and used that language to somebody else, I would end up in prison. So why do we feel that people can do that behind keyboards and people can do that?
When are we going to be able to take action? Because a lot of social media companies say, "Oh yeah, we're going to look into this. We're going to try and take these down. We're going to stop these from happening." Nothing ever happens, and
Sam,
until
it's not in their business interest to do that.
But until someone does something, it's just rhetoric, isn't it?
They make a lot of money from these algorithms. That's the purpose of using this inflammatory language, that it creates massive debate, that creates huge value. And these social media companies are making a fortune. And I think that, it feels to me at the moment, whilst the Online Safety Act is well-intentioned, it's well-intentioned actions. We are not seeing the full venom of what this actually means.
Does it have any teeth, the Online Safety Act?
For me, in my opinion, It's a well-intentioned action, Sam, but at this juncture, it's not really doing consistently, effectively, diligently what it's set out to do. For me, what needs to happen now, this needs to be the same convictions we're talking inside stadiums, it's happening outside stadiums. We now have to, these people now, this ain't about education, rehabilitation, that's part of a sanction. When these adults now, everybody realise if you abuse somebody because of their sexual orientation, their disability, their ethnicity or their gender, you are abusing somebody, you are offending somebody, you are acting outside of the law. So you are not above the law, and there has to be zero tolerance prosecution, whether you're a footballer or whether you're a human being or you're a male or you're a female. Now you have to say there's going to be a prosecution and you are going to serve time in prison.
Okay,
a custodial sentence.
Thank you very much. Simon, just want to come back quickly before we break?
I was going to say there's a difference between inflammatory conversations and racial language and being racist. And I don't think the algorithms are set up for people to allow to be racist. The problem with policing social media is the anonymity side of things. And unless you're going to take away the anonymity, because you're seeing a litany of people. And I've just gone and looked at the last 25 cases on social media of people racially abusing players and the consequences of it. And every time they can be identified, people are getting prosecuted and getting sent to prison. So the idea of social media being something you can hide behind, the only way you can hide behind it is anonymity. And then if you get past the anonymity argument and move into a space where people are not anonymous, they are being prosecuted. They are being sent to prison.
The social media companies have got to take away that anonymity.
Well, there's got to be more of a reason for. I mean, of course, anonymity will always be a part in society because you'll have whistleblowers and you'll have special groups that need to have anonymity. But as a matter of course, there's a difficulty in my mind to see why anyone would want to be anonymous.
Come back in just a second and finish that discussion. This is talkSPORT. Thank you very much to Paul Elliott. Michael Carrick, unbeaten so far. A trip to Merseyside. They've enjoyed a bit of a new lease of life under Michael Carrick, haven't they? Got 5 games unbeaten at the helm. The only team yet to be defeated in the Premier League this year. And no side has claimed more points in 2026 than Manchester United's 15. But they do go to Everton. And it hasn't been a great start at the Hill Dickinson yet. They haven't quite bed in there yet. Michael Carrick, though, has been speaking pre-match, and he's looking forward to the trip.
Going away to Everton, I know it's a new stadium, but historically it's always been tough. It's always been the atmosphere and the supporters that they create. I think it's always been one of the toughest ones that I've played away from home, so we're aware with that. And then trying to be our best way we can. I think we've got things to improve on, but we've got a good base and a good foundation moving forward. Good spirit. So we'll have to draw on pretty much all of that.
That was Michael Carrick speaking ahead of the game, and it'd be fascinating to see how they approach it, Martin, because it is traditionally a difficult place to go, but Manchester United always seem to do well away at Everton.
They do. It's a fixture that they like traditionally. Just interesting the job that Carrick's done since he's taken over. Mainu particularly has come in and just torn up that midfield, was deemed not good enough by the...
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 11:04, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Michael Carrick has praised Benjamin Šeško's attitude after he came off the bench to score for the 3rd time in 4 games. Šeško's goal was enough to give United all 3 points in a tight one at Everton. Our chief football anchor Adrian Durham says Carrick understands the Man United DNA.
This was, United playing on the counter, winning on the counter, scoring on the counter, and this, in certain times, in Sir Alex Ferguson's reign, that's exactly what Manchester United did.
Shesh goes on all the back pages, but David Moyes said we should be talking more about Senna Lomans.
I actually think that the Manchester United goalkeeper was probably the man in the match, the way he played with his, obviously the save from Michael Keane also. He was very good on the corners and defended them.
Now, with increased military presence on the streets of Mexico and 62 dead following an operation that killed drug lord El Mencho, what does this all mean for the World Cup? Our reporter Ben Jacobs says we'll know more when Mexico hosts next month's intercontinental playoffs.
So naturally, if this violence continues into March and those games are seen to be unsafe, this will become a much bigger problem as far as FIFA are concerned.
We're told Floyd Money Mayweather is probably coming out of retirement for the cash, but Johnny Nelson also says former fighters struggle to adapt when they leave the ring.
Boxing's a complete and utter drug, and the best in our sport struggle to really let go. Even I think I can still fight, and I'm 59.
49-year-old Floyd Mayweather will take on a 47-year-old Manny Pacquiao in Las Vegas this September. There's more on this at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The inquiry into the Nottingham stabbings will be a turning point for society, and Russell Brand has pleaded not guilty to 2 sexual offences. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Get a free vehicle safety check at all of our 600 centres nationwide to keep you safe on the road. QuickFit. Drive away happy every time.
Across the northwest, breezy with occasional rain. Elsewhere, cloudy but mainly dry, then turning brighter from the south this afternoon with some sunny spells.
Good morning, this is Sam Matterface with Simon Jordan. We're here till 1 o'clock on talkSPORT. Remember, tonight we're round the grounds in the Champions League and the EFL with Adrian Durham as we bring you all the goals as they go in. We've got commentary tomorrow night, actually, on Benfica against Real Madrid in the Bernabeu, which is live on talkSPORT and well worth a listen. Simon, just to play devil's advocate here, because of, as you were saying during the course of the conversation, and what Paul was saying as well, obviously there is overwhelming circumstantial evidence and witness statements from teammates about Prestiani. But, of course, we know that it's not cut and dry that he definitely will be found guilty, which is why they've given him just a one-match suspension, a temporary suspension. But if Benfica were to go out of Wednesday's tie and he wasn't available, and then subsequently, hypothetically, he was found not guilty, could that open UEFA up to any legal challenge?
I doubt it. I think that they would have utilised a rule that Paul referred to that gave them enough cover to have deployed it, because ultimately now, or realistically, so many of these governing bodies are mindful of the fact that ownership and football focus in terms of what people are prepared to accept from governing bodies is now very much scrutinised. No one takes things at face value. No one recognises the authority of the government and challenges it. You see it all the time in terms of Leicester City are challenging the sanctions being put on them as a result of the breaches that they've been alleged by an independent panel and found adjudicated to have been found guilty. Manchester City are challenging the observations made by governing bodies for 150, and on we go. And there's not a preparedness to accept things. So I think they would have made sure that they're in a very clear space. The player putting his shirt over his mouth, for me, is a very telling situation as to what he did and didn't say. And there's varying reports about what he did and didn't say. And there's various indications of it. And we have to be very clear that when someone is found, by the same token, there's a victim in this, that in terms of if someone said something that was of a racist abuse nature, if someone didn't, and then is judged in the court of public opinion, which is often is the case. I remember the example, and this is I'm going off piece a little bit, of the referee refereeing the game in which Demba Ba was on the sidelines, and there was a group of coaching staff, and one of them said something insulting to the fourth official. The referee came over and asked which one it was, and the fourth official said the Romanian word for black, which is negro for black, and said the black one because it was the only person in the group that was black one. That was extrapolated up into racial abuse. Demba Ba went berserk, think he heard something. It was debated on Champions League by Nigel Dejon, and everyone should be getting banned and consequenced. And there was no other word in Romanian dialects for the word black. And it was a misunderstanding, a misinterpretation. I'm not suggesting this is the case in this instance. But when you're accusing somebody of something which potentially has huge ramifications, because if you get branded and labelled and found guilty of being a racist, and all of a sudden there's all kinds of consequences, potential employment consequences, potential ability to be able to find yourself marketed in a way that you can never make any money outside of football because it will always come with you. So it has to have the prerequisite amount of safety around both protecting the victim against the observation and also making sure that what people heard or what they think they heard is categorically what they did hear.
Do UEFA deserve a little bit of credit for acting as swiftly as they have? Because it took just 16 hours for them to open a disciplinary case against Prestiani. 3 working days later, he was banned, pending the result of a full investigation. In 2021, Slavia Prague's Andrei Kudula was accused of racially abusing Glenn Kamara of Rangers in the second leg of a Europa League tie at Ibrox. Much like Prestiani, the Czech Republic international covered his mouth before approaching Kamara. UEFA issued him with an interim 1-game ban 2 days before Slavia Prague was scheduled to play Arsenal in the next round of the competition. It took them a little while longer to deal with it. 8 days later, Kudula was banned for 10 games after UEFA found the case proven. That's slightly different to being guilty, isn't it? But he was banned for 10 games. So maybe they're actually speeding up their process and they've got more robust rules now to be able to deal with these situations.
Well, so they should do. I mean,
absolutely. But
if you've got a situation...
At last, because it has been a situation that they've been criticised for.
Well, yeah,
in the past.
we're talking about something that happened 4 years ago with Rangers, and we're talking about the sophistication. Once you've encountered something and you know what it looks like and you know what the ramifications of it are and you know what the opportunities to address it quickly and promptly are and you have the bandwidth inside your governance to do it, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do it. These organisations, with due respect to what UEFA are awash with money. They should be awash with the ability to be able to make decisions quickly and succinctly for the right reasons, not for the optics of things, for the right reasons. And given the fact that did you want this player really playing at the Bernabeu? No. Not really, because it would have been an absolute tinderbox. And there would have been even more ramifications, I suspect. So the fact that they've moved speedily, the fact that they've moved with efficacy, we will see when the findings come out exactly what the defence of the player is, exactly what the player suggests he didn't say, and how it got to this point. Because the kid himself is a 20-year-old Argentinian. We have seen situations with Argentinian players. We saw them on the back of a bus going after winning the World Cup singing racist tropes. So we know it's in the gift of some of these Argentinian players to think this way and to have this sort of thought process about generalising and and categorising all Argentinians in one fell swoop. But we do need to be clear that if he said what has been alleged of him, he needs to be consequenced, and what that looks like is for the game to determine and for the game to tighten up, and as we discussed with Paul, to start bringing criminal charges in the same way that Duncan Ferguson was put on final notice by the police, then got involved in an altercation on the pitch, and then got sent to prison as a result of it. There's no reason why. Racism is a blight. There's racists in every community. It's not just a white thing; it's a black thing too. It exists in all communities. People can be racist, but the fact of the matter is, consequences need to be meted out where people are proven to have done things and said things that are unacceptable. And in this instance, I'll be fascinated to see how UEFA handle this when they've got 2 diametrically opposed versions. My understanding of the language that is used is abusive still, but not racially charged language.
Well, his defence actually is that he used a slur which is homophobic.
Yeah. So
it's not a great defence.
Well,
really.
it's in this instance, in his mind, it'll be the lesser of 2 evils. In other people's minds, in other communities' minds that want, inclusion and diversity in the game, they'll be equally as affronted by that. But the charge that's being brought against him, and the one that will probably hurt him the most, and people go, well, hang on a second, how should this one hurt him the most? Is if it's a racial epithet, if it's a an unfortunate homophobic slur, then yes, that community will be outraged. But that's not the charge. That's not the charge he's being brought against.
It's the same punishment, though, isn't it? It's discriminatory language.
Yes, it is. It is. But
it should be the same punishment.
But unfortunately, whether this is the right thing to say or not, in a court of a public opinion, he'll take less shrapnel for that observation than he will for a racial epithet.
If you were working in a office, if you were working in this studio and you did that, it would be gross misconduct.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the challenge for this instance is, how do you gross misconduct? Which football club gross misconducts a £50 million football?
Well, that is interesting, because that's another thing that football has got to be able to reconcile with, isn't it?
Well, that's when you drag that's when you drag the culture of football and you make the fiduciary responsibility of directors and owners of football clubs come into line, and then you'll see how quickly they stamp out what is considered by most reasonable people to be unacceptable.
Okay, just a quick word. I want to read the statement from UEFA just so that we've got sort of like a real handle on the governance issue here. They've said that upon the request of the EDI with an interim report, the UEFA Control, Ethics and Disciplinary Board decided to provisionally suspend Prestiani for the next UEFA match, for which he would be eligible for the prima facie violation of Article 14 of the UEFA Disciplinary Regulations. Just to explain what prima facie means, it's a Latin term meaning at first sight or at first look. It refers to the standard of proof under which the party with the burden of proof need only to present enough evidence to create a rebuttal presumption that the matter asserted is true. Interesting to see what happens when Real Madrid meet Benfica tomorrow night, live on talkSPORT. We'll bring you commentary of that. This is talkSPORT, and you're listening to Sam Matterface and Simon Jordan with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's Real Deal at selcobw.com. Let's talk about Oliver Glasner. Yesterday, the Palace fans, who are putting up with a bit of a poor run of form, just 2 wins in 16, their patience seems to be wearing thin. Sacked in the morning, chance came when I was in Mostar with them on Thursday night. They were not happy with Oliver Glasner yesterday. They held up a banner claiming that he is finished at the weekend. This is what he said during the week. He said, they can say and sing whatever they want. I know what I am doing. I would say the most important thing is stay humble. I think it's the same for the fans. Stay humble. Never forget where you're coming from. I think a few who are so critical in this situation are not humble anymore. Forget where you are coming from, and usually in life you are punished for this. Has a manager ever been as blatant about wanting to get sacked and leave the club with a payoff as Oliver Glasner? And if you were the...
Is that what you think he's doing?
Yeah. Do you not?
No, I think...
Just being honest.
I think he's got a view. I think he's made his decision that he wanted to leave. There's lots of reasons why he wants to leave, and some of them are justified. The manner in which he's done it, I think, is poor. The manner in which he's communicated is poor. And now what he's doing is pushing back, because it's coincided with the perfect storm of A, saying he wanted to leave, and B, the team's form dropping off the cliff. And the Palace fans, like all football fans, have very short memories. And so they're now, here and now. Doesn't matter what happened a year ago. It doesn't matter.
Do you not think the fans... talkSPORT. It's Sam Matterface alongside Simon Jordan today. Let's get to our chief football correspondent, Alex Crooks, to round up some of the latest headlines in the world of football. And we wanted to tackle in particular the situation with Sheffield Wednesday, because you and I had a discussion on Sunday, didn't we, when we were at the North London derby with Alan Biggs, and the result that obviously ultimately relegated Sheffield Wednesday was a defeat in the Steel City derby. But of course, the reason that they're going down goes back a very long way. The hope is that the takeover that was agreed at the end of last year will be done and dusted by April. But is it certain to go through? I suppose they need to know that, don't they, Sheffield Wednesday fans?
Yeah, they do. And this is one of the stories in my notebook on the talkSPORT website today, that there are serious doubts, I think, about this potential takeover of Sheffield Wednesday, bearing in mind that it's 2 months today since a fee was agreed of, we believe, around £30 million with a three-man consortium, including James Board, a German AI expert, Felix Rumer, and a Middle East businessman as well. But 2 months later, the group yet to be approved by the EFL. And interestingly, a new twist in this, the independent football regulator, I'm told, are also carrying out their own inquiries, which could delay it. I'm told this is expected to drag on for several weeks, maybe even towards the back end of the season. And I think one potential issue at a time when the government are looking to clamp down on gambling sponsorship in sport, and I think that's something we're going to be talking about on this programme a lot in the upcoming weeks and months, is that James Board is a former professional punter. He was part of the Star Lizard Group, I believe, with Tony Bloom, the owner of Brighton. And another potential development is that Mike Ashley, former Newcastle owner, is still, I'm told, waiting in the wings. His offer for the club was well short of what this consortium are willing to pay. But if it does fall through, then don't rule out Mike Ashley making another offer.
You've been aware of these situations at Sheffield Wednesday, haven't you? What's your view on it?
We stuck a bid in, didn't we? And I was very clear in the way that we wanted to do the deal. That I didn't want to. I felt that the Football League rules are poor, that you don't want to reward bad ownership. So why would I want to pay 25p in a pound to give to Chancery rather than invest it in the football club?
Should we just clarify, first of all, that it's not me and you going in?
No, myself and a very good friend of mine called Ryan Howsam, who owns a $1 billion business called Stayshaw, and he's a Sheffield lad. And we looked at it, we spoke, and we put a bid in, we put together a deal, and we didn't want to do it under the terms of the administrators' remit. We think that the EFL, and I had a conversation with the EFL, I think the EFL, if they wanted to, they could put a 15-point penalty in this season. There's precedent for it not being done that way, but the guidelines, they're not rules, they're guidelines. So the big thing is that no one wanted to give Chancery 15 million quid on the way in. Why should they? It's protect. I mean, I'd like to have had it on my way out of Palace, but the reality of it is bad ownership should be consequenced. If you run out of money then and run it the way he has, there's a consequence for it. You can't reward bad ownership by saying, here's a safety net for 25% of your money. It doesn't work that way, but in football it does. So the irony of the rule, which is basically a sort of a rule of other football clubs going, well, why should they come out of administration without paying this, that and the other? Well, normally when you come out of administration, you're massively depleted anyway. And so this sort of small-minded thinking of, well, they should have to pay 25p in a pound for unsecured. Yes, unsecured like businesses that are doing business with you, not shareholders that are unsecured creditors. If you make a holics of a business, you should be consequenced for it. So we didn't want to do it on that basis. But I also believe that the 15-point penalty is a deterrent, because if you take it this season, you don't care, you're already getting relegated.
So you're saying they're going to have another 15 penalty?
If they don't pay the 25p in the pound, which is why the football club's at 30 million quid, which is why Mike Ashley doesn't want to pay it, which is why I didn't want to pay it. And whether these guys now, the interesting thing for these guys, I think, Alex, you may well know this, they must have paid a 10% deposit on the way in. So that's why the administrator's not clucking, because he's got some cash flow. But they will have paid 2 or 3 million quid on the way in to have got themselves into preferred creditor status. So that to me means that why would they put themselves in that position if there isn't a good indication that they're going to get through, despite the challenges, despite some of the nuances and complications that are going around, that's taking a period of time. It's a hell of a load of money to throw away just for the sheer privilege. And I think they're doing some funding as well.
So you think it will go through, Alex?
I'm told it remains in doubt, and certainly it's not going to go through imminently, which is part of the problem, because obviously they've got to start planning for next season. You'd imagine that Henrik Pedersen will be kept on, despite the fact he's not won many games this season. He's not really had the tools to do so, but they've got to work out which players they want to keep, which players they can cash in on. So I don't think the delay really is helping anyone. But just the point Simon was making there, if they did accept a lower offer from, say, Mike Ashley, then that 15-point penalty, I think, would become a very live threat for next season. Then you could be talking about Sheffield Wednesday potentially battling against relegation to League Two.
Couple of other big stories. Last night, Senna Lomans, a particularly good performance by him under real pressure. Anana, who was the goalkeeper last season, shipped out to Trabzonspor on loan in September after that defeat to Grimsby, if I remember rightly. So what's going to happen to him in the summer?
Yeah, I thought Le Mans was brilliant last night, under quite a lot of aerial pressure with those set pieces, and it did get me digging into the future of Andre Onana this morning. I'm told that there's no plan at this stage to reintegrate him at Manchester United. They see Lomans very much as their number one. If they do bring in a new goalkeeper, I think it will be to compete with Lomans as opposed to replace him now, so well as he done over the course of the season. I think he's had mixed reviews, Onana, over in Turkey, and at the moment the indication is that Trabzonspor probably won't sign him on a permanent basis, so he'll come back to Old Trafford and Manchester United will need to sell him. But they're going to take quite a hit, aren't they, in the near £50 million they paid Inter Milan to sign him at the request of Erik ten Hag. So this is a story I think we're going to be tracking throughout the summer. I guess Simon will back up that because he's been out on loan a year, actually when it comes to profit and sustainability rules, taking a hit on that transfer fee is maybe not as dire for United as it would have been a year ago.
Well, does it change anything? The squad cost ratio rules are coming in the summer.
Well, if they bought him, what did they pay for him, Alex? Do you know? 50 million. Well, they probably put him on a 4-year deal. So he's sitting on their balance sheet at £12.5 million at the end of this year. They sell him for 15 million quid. They've made a £2.5 million profit. So, despite the fact that he can't catch a cold, not much of a goalkeeper, someone will pay 15, 20 million quid for him probably. And then United will be able to book a profit and move on, won't they?
Bournemouth are growing optimistic about persuading Andoni Iraola to stay.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating summer in terms of managers. We know that Oliver Glasner is going to leave Crystal Palace. I think we both think, Sam, that he might well go before his contract expires in the summer. Marco Silva yet to commit to a new deal at Fulham, and Iraola in the same situation at Bournemouth. But I'm just getting more optimistic noises coming out of the Vitality. They signed 4 players in the January transfer window, including the Brazilian teenager Rayan, who's been absolutely sensational so far. And I think they believe that it shows to Iraola that they're committed to investing in the club. At the moment, they're 8th in the table. I think come the end of the season, top 8 may well be enough to get in Europe for the first time in their history. Nothing agreed yet, I'm told. And I don't think the fact he's not signed yet should be an indication that Iraola is looking to leave, because he does like to leave a decision on his future until the last minute. He prefers to operate on short-term deals rather than signing long contracts. But as I say, there does seem to be optimism that he will still be the Bournemouth manager for next season.
Okay, and finally, a family affair at Brighton and Hove Albion. This is how to get a transfer done.
Yeah, this is a really interesting one. It was reported in the Times, and I've tried to do some digging on it this morning, and there does seem to be some substance to it. Saeed El Mala, who was playing in the German third tier for his local club only last season. He's now starring in the Bundesliga. He's got an outside chance, apparently, of making Germany's World Cup squad. And he's the perfect profile for Brighton and their data-led model. So they're interested not only in him, but in his brother Malik. And I think they're looking to potentially sign both of them, hoping that getting Malik would persuade Saeed to join them. So, yeah, I mean, it looks a good signing on paper for Brighton. I would argue one of the issues they've had this season is they've not probably invested enough in experienced players, and we saw at the weekend that they put the experienced heads back in the team. James Milner, at the age of 40, breaking the Premier League appearance record, and they've picked up a good 2-0 win at Brentford. So I think they'll keep investing in young players, but I think they're aware they need that experience as well.
Yeah, he's got 8 goals in 23 games for Cologne, it's a big team in the Bundesliga. Simon, would you ever have done a deal to sort of try and snare one player, offer to sign a family member as well, or a friend? Because sometimes players do like to come as pairs, don't they?
No, I was trying to think of one that I did, which was Peter Taylor, when he wanted Stuart Green to sign from Hull because he was dating his daughter.
Who was dating whose daughter?
Stuart Green
was dating Peter Taylor's daughter.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
And one of the reasons Peter gave me the reasons why we wanted to sign Stuart Green was because of that. And I'm sat in the room going, that can't be. I mean, I signed him because he was a couple $100,000, but I couldn't. I scratched my head when I walked out the door. It was a $200,000 decision. If it keeps him happy.
So you signed him on that basis?
Yeah.
Outrageous. Unbelievable. Crookmeister, thank you very much. See you on Friday. Nice to hear from you. That's Alex Crook, our Chief Football Correspondent. And the rest of the Transfer Notebook, by the way, is available on the talkSPORT website, talksport.com, right now. Next, we'll have a look at the latest odds, all thanks to BetMGM.
Nico O'Reilly's brace kept City in the title hunt with a 2-1 victory over Newcastle. Chelsea dropped points at home to Burnley. Excuse me. Liverpool strengthened their push for Champions League football thanks to a late controversial winner from Alexis McAllister. That was an interesting game. I thought when I only watched the highlights, I thought Forest actually played well.
Brilliant, yeah.
But there's only one place we can start, as Arsenal made a title statement again in the North London derby, defeating Spurs 4-1. Incidentally, had 3-1 in McCutton to restore their 5-point lead at the top of the table. Eze was Tottenham's tormentor again. He now has 7 goals in his last 4 games against Spurs since last May. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta said he stepped up another level last night.
I mean, he scored 5 goals in the last 2 games against them, which is extremely difficult to do. But I could see that he wanted to prove something. He was upset, even with me, because I didn't play him the other day from the beginning and some of the decisions that I made. And I started to understand how we're going to get the best out of him now.
Okay, Ray. Joker has also grabbed a brace. Arteta said it was his best game in a Gunners shirt since his summer arrival in Sporting Lisbon. I think that's a fair comment as well.
Absolutely. I think his movement was much better.
Yeah.
He was involved in more. He looks more of a threat in front of goal. You know, the positions he took up were so much better. Have you...
Michael Carrick's praised the attitude of Benjamin Sesko. He came off the bench to score for the 3rd time in 4 games. And our chief football anchor, Adrian Durham, says Carrick just understands the Man United DNA.
This was, United playing on the counter, winning on the counter, scoring on the counter. And this, in certain times, in Sir Alex Ferguson's reign, that's exactly what Manchester United did.
United are 4th and dreaming of Champions League football. Carrick's won 5 of his 6 games so far.
What a start. Would you give him, here's one for you. Would you give him the job right now? Give us a call. Neither would I.
That's that sorted then. Meanwhile, Everton are 9th, but have no wins in their last 7 at home. So is Hill Dickinson having a psychological effect?
Maybe it is, but let's be fair. We could say it about all teams. Lots of teams who've gone to new stadiums found it difficult. Yeah.
David Moyes told us Everton didn't show enough self-belief in the first half. Now, Floyd Mayweather's coming out of retirement for a rematch with a 47-year-old Manny Pacquiao. Mayweather will be 49 when they meet 11 years after he beat Pacquiao on points. Speaking over the weekend, talkSPORT's boxing expert Adam Catterall says he'd be interested to watch it.
They're both as retired as each other. They're both as active as each other. It's got that nostalgia feel to it. I don't think I'd be too against that, to be fair.
Netflix will broadcast Mayweather versus Pacquiao from the Las Vegas Sphere in September. And talkSPORT's Jeff Stelling says he's incredibly proud to once again be honorary president of Hartlepool. Jeff's reinstatement comes after Pool's previous owner, Raj Singh, was replaced by Landon Smith last month. Get more on the website at talksport.com.
trip to Cheltenham, Alan Brazil style, on talkSPORT.
It's talkSPORT. It's Sam Matterface and Simon Jordan. Fancy joining talkSPORT, the famous Cheltenham Festival, for Gold Cup Day? Well, now's your chance. We're giving away the ultimate hospitality experience for two on Friday, March the 13th. You'll get the full day of VIP treatment, a 4-course lunch, complimentary bar all day, celebrity tipsters and more. It's the best way to experience the races, and you'll even get to meet some of the talkSPORT team on site. You'll have until 4 p.m. this Friday to get your entries in. Here's how to enter. For your chance to win, text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate, or you can call 0343 418 7260. Lines close this Friday at 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a talkSPORT promotion, and full terms and conditions apply at talksport.com. So for your chance to win, text WIN now to 83338. Right, time now to catch up with the latest odds, all thanks to BetMGM.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus. Gambleaware.org.
It's a double dose of Matt Gibson. Good morning.
Morning, Sam. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Let's talk Champions League tonight, because it's a big second leg for some teams. For others, it should be a little bit more simple. And talking in particular about Newcastle United, already well advanced into the last 16.
Yeah, I think a couple of ties are maybe dead rubbers. Newcastle and Karabag and Bayer Leverkusen and Olympiacos. You'd like to think that the home teams there, the Germans and the Geordies, will progress. But I think elsewhere in Madrid and in Milan, I think it's very much game on. Bruges are no slouches, and Atletico haven't won any of their last 4 games against Bruges. They are 11-2 to go to Madrid and win. Obviously, Atletico favourites at 4-11. And then the real surprise package, Sam, Bodo Glimt have had some results in this competition, haven't they? They are going to Milan, who've been in, I think, 2 of the last 3 finals. So Inter obviously favourites to qualify, to win the tie. But what an effort from Bodo Glimt, lads. They, to my knowledge, their domestic season is not in flight at the moment. So these are the only games that they are concentrating on. They're 3-1 up in the tie, and they're 19-22 to qualify. I think the money will come for Inter. So you could get Bodo at around even money to make it through the tie, which I think with a 2-goal lead, I think that's really decent value. Both teams to score in all 4 games. Sam only missed out because Olympiacos didn't notch against Bayer Leverkusen. If they want any chance of qualifying, they're gonna have to go for it early doors. In all other ties last time out, there was goals from all teams. Both teams to score in all 4 ties, coming out at just a shade under 6-1. Might be a little lacquer for tonight for a little bit of sport, but I don't know which way you see those 2 games going that are very much in the balance, lads.
Well, I'm going to be concentrating on Bodo Glimt against Inter Milan tonight, and you're right, the Norwegian season doesn't start until March. They've won the last 3 Champions League games, and they've always been wonderful at home. And I know that Inter were not happy about the pitch that they had to play on last week, but it's a place in the Arctic Circle. You are not going to be able to have a grass pitch playing matches in December and January, I'm afraid. So that's just the way of the world. And do you know what? I think because they've been so good at home, you sort of sometimes neglect some of the away results. But this is a team that have gone away and scored in Istanbul. They've got a point against Slavia Prague, and they've beaten Atletico Madrid in the Metropolitano. So
I think they've drawn with Spurs as well in there, haven't they? I think
that was at home, though. That was at home. They drawn with Spurs at home, and they should have won that game. They were 2-0 up in that game. Spurs had a terrible night that night, and were very fortunate to get a point from that game. That was the second match in the competition, but they are a very good footballing team, and they will score goals. I'm sure they'll score tonight, and I think what you said about both teams to score is absolutely right. Championship tonight, some big games.
Yeah, what a week for Coventry. We've kind of kept an eye on this division. I mean, Coventry beat Borough and won at the weekend, and everyone below them dropped points. Middlesbrough obviously lost to Coventry and then drew at the weekend. Millwall, Ipswich, Hull all losing on over the weekend as well. We were sort of really doubting Coventry's mettle this time. Last Monday, and a week's a hell of a long time in football, and they are back into odds-on favourites to win the division at 4-5. Middlesbrough slight drift at 5-2, but we think they'll be very much in the shake-up. Really interesting one. I know a lot's been talked about Wrexham going back-to-back promotions. Birmingham are just behind them, and they're going for the exact same thing, which I think a lot of people forget about. Birmingham are 2 points adrift of Wrexham, so very much in the shake-up for the top six. And as much as back-to-back promotions are great, Leicester City looking to battle back-to-back relegations, very much down there, really in a bad run of form. No green on the board in the last six. And they're, of course, in action tonight. Who do you not want to play? If you're Leicester, probably Middlesbrough, who are searching for the title. There's plenty of interesting games tonight. Sam, Hull versus Derby, another interesting one. Both teams really need to win that. Ipswich, Simon's always been behind Ipswich, to be fair. They've got a couple of games in hand on Middlesbrough and are only just behind them. They've actually got to play Borough as well on the 18th of April. So Ipswich going to Watford, you fancy them. And then, of course, Southampton against QPR. Southampton probably the foremost in the league, but QPR having a really good win at the weekend. It's really difficult to call. I think Hull, Ipswich, Southampton and Borough win their games tonight, and I think at 12-1, it's maybe not a bad bet for the punters, but the Championship just delivers every year, Sam, in terms of a competitive league and results hard to predict.
Wrexham got a tough game tonight. They're at home to Portsmouth, who have won their last two. Millwall and Charlton away from home. They beat West Brom not too long ago as well. John Mousinho doing a very good job there in difficult circumstances. And when you look at the bottom of the table now, there's a 6-point gap for them, and they've got a game in hand over Leicester City as well. If they stay in the Championship this season with the budget they've got, he's done a terrific job. T20 World Cup, England against Pakistan today at 1:30.
Yeah, it's been a pretty tricky winter for English cricket fans, and I don't think they've been superb in the T20 World Cup thus far. Although they did get past Sri Lanka at the weekend. Batting was a little bit shaky, but a good bowling performance. They play Pakistan this afternoon, 11-20 to win the game. If they win that, they're pretty much through to the next round of the competition. A result that really sort of threw the cat amongst the pigeons. India hammered by South Africa at home over the
Sunday,
weekend,
wasn't it?
Yeah, they have drifted. They are still top of the market to win the whole thing, but they have drifted slightly. India to win the whole thing at 9-5. South Africa right there at 23-10. And then, of course, come England at 21-4. No Australia. Slightly favourable group, you'd argue, for England. If the batting improves, Sam, they should be bang there.
Absolutely. Matt, thank you very much. That was a look at the latest odds, all thanks to BetMGM. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. Today's 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Ben Bracey's got in touch, Simon, and he says, Simon, I wish you'd have taken over us. He's talking about Sheffield Wednesday. You've got your head screwed on, your moral compass points in the right direction. Chancellor is a poisonous individual that shouldn't profit from his disastrous spell in charge. I don't trust James Board, and his crypto bro mate would prefer Mike Ashley. That's from Ben in Ware.
I'm amazed that Mike wanted to do it, to be honest. I mean, I don't think he had the greatest of times at Newcastle, but apparently he just loves football, wants to be involved again, but only on his terms. Look, I ran a football club for 10 years. It didn't end the way I wanted it to. I have no desire to run another one. Ryan would have had me go up there and run it for him, which I didn't want to do. I've got other things to do with my life. I've run a football club. I had 10 years of it.
Would you not now think about going in again if this takeover doesn't go through?
Nah.
It's over for you, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I've always advocated for Sheffield Wednesday, always advocated for them, always suggested that they're a club waiting to happen. If someone can get behind them, get some momentum, it's a great football club with great scale opportunities. Ironically, when I was looking deeper into it, the digital footprint it has is much smaller than that of Sheffield United, albeit I think Sheffield Wednesday is a bigger club because they haven't been in the Premier League for such a long time. So the digital footprints and those sort of things, which are part and parcel of the whole branding opportunity of a football club, which is why Wrexham are so successful.
And what we heard from David Hopkinson, the Newcastle CEO, a couple of weeks ago.
But the reality of it is I think there are better opportunities for me in other spaces than going run a football club again.
Okay. Obviously, running football clubs is quite difficult, and the National League has launched an investigation into Kings Lynn Towns following the allegations that the club deliberately sabotaged its own pitch to force a match postponement. The CCTV footage from Friday, February the 13th appears to show the club's sprinkler system soaking the pitch during heavy rainfall, leading to the cancellation of their scheduled match against South Shields the following day. Now, reports suggest that Kings Lynn, who are currently embroiled in a relegation battle in the National League North, they're not playing particularly well. They've got a depleted squad. They've got injuries and illness. They didn't have enough players, really, anyway. The league has requested full access to the CCTV records after time-stamped images of the sprinklers were leaked to the non-league paper. But this is an unprecedented case for the National League because it remains unclear what specific sanctions or penalties the club might face if they are found guilty of intentional interference. Now, the CCTV...
Was it leaked by Jackie Weaver?
Have you seen the CCTV footage?
No, I haven't.
Well, I have. And it does look damning, but it's not clear proof because, I mean, it could just be a malfunction. The sprinkler system might have been turned on automatically by someone. We don't know. All we see is the sprinkler system on and it drowning the pitch. It might have failed.
Well, they'll be able to. I'm assuming that the sprinkler system must have a modicum of sophistication towards it, and they should be able to throw out an error report of some shape or form. Although no saying that, it might not have that sophistication at all.
National League North, yeah.
But it's interesting. It might be actually. Yeah, it might just be one of those things you put in your garden. But you know, the idea that someone leaked this. Is
Well, you're in a relegation battle. You need everybody digging in, everybody getting behind the operation, and someone in the team behind us leaks it to the non-league paper.
Very good.
Thanks, lads.
Very good.
Appreciate that. We're all pulling in the right direction. You're listening to White and Jordan on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's real deals at selcobw.com. Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather Jr. are back. We'll discuss it next.
God, just get on with it.
Has anyone seen Tottenham Hotspur? Can you hear me, Spurs? You must have won hell of a whooping, Jamie. Are the Europa League champions? Ego ball, ego ball, ego ball. Can you hear me, ego ball? You must have won hell of a beating, Beyonce. Chicken. Thomas the Frank engine. You must have won hell of a whooping, the big cockerel. Skywalk, Beavertown Brewery, the SA signing. Has anyone seen the SA signing? Has anyone seen the SA signing? Morgan Gibbs White signing. Can you hear me, Morgan with Gibbs White signing? You almost have went hell of a meeting. The Williams signing. Don't do me a favour. The referee's headset. Big Ange, AJ Tracy. Big Ange, AJ Tracy. The Seven Sisters Railway Line. Adele, Alan Sugar. Spider-Man, to dare is to do. Can you hear me? To dare is to. You almost have one hell of a meeting. To dare is to Tudor. Spurs, you almost have one hell of a whooping. Whooping. It's who we are, mate.
It's just who we are, mate. Oh, dearie me. What a terrible day to be Jamie O'Hara, eh? Spurs battered yet again by Arsenal. Another weak performance. Whooping. Richie Eze come back to haunt Spurs yet again. He only plays against us. Don't play against anyone else.
Okay, let's pick out who's been the real deal this week with Selco Builders Warehouse.
The Real Deal on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. For the latest special offers, pick up this month's Real Deals in branch or view online at selcobw.com.
Simon's absolutely excited about this, I can tell. Boxing greats Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather Jr. have agreed a professional rematch in September, 11 years after a fight that came 5 years too late. Does Floyd's unbeaten record and the professional status of the bout add any intrigue to this at all?
No. Not really. I don't think so. I mean, Manny Pacquiao's had a fight recently, hasn't he, against Mario Barris, who's just lost his title to Ryan Garcia, deservedly so. And that was a draw in which most people saw Pacquiao at the end of his career, saw what was left of him, and were not too happy that he came back again. Floyd Mayweather has had a variety of different bouts. I mean, I hear that he's going to fight Mike Tyson. I don't understand what that thinking is. Or an exhibition. We've seen him fight and hold up Conor McGregor in an exhibition fight. It's Netflix building entertainment models around sport. Sport is entertainment. It crosses over. Netflix have got a proven model of success that ultimately they invest some money into these sort of things, whether it's Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson or Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. They'll look at their lifetime value of their average subscriber, not every subscriber, but their average subscriber, and then they multiply it by the amount of subscribers they think they're going to get as new ones, and they make a commercial decision.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because everything that they've done so far is massive. And this obviously will be a talking point. I mean, Anthony Joshua's knockout victory over Jake Paul in December wasn't something that the boxing fraternity wanted, but it appears to be that they understand what people want, what the rest of the community wants. And actually, I don't know if that's the algorithm or just good research or just good instincts, but they do great numbers.
They have a 300 million subscriber base around the world, bigger than that now. I think the growth on the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul fights, I think they got 2 million subscribers out of it, new subscribers. Now, irrespective of whether some of those subscribers churn or don't stay for a long period of time, the average Netflix subscriber is worth $900. Some will be worth $1,500. Some will be worth $29.99. So the average Netflix subscriber is worth $900. So by that mathematics, they paid Mike Tyson and Jake Paul something like 150 million, and they banked 2 billion.
Well worth it.
There's a scale. Now, sports, again, you look at what it is. You've got elite sport. You've got the top-end sport where you've got Better Biev fighting Bivol. You've got the great fighters of the current times that are fighting the best fighters in their class. Then you've got the kind of mock entertainment, elite, half elite boxing, which is Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. It has a foot in both camps. And then you've got this, and you've got Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua, which are media translations of a sport. It was a breakout party for Anthony Joshua, pre the tragedy, obviously, for him to have a new life outside of boxing. Here is the media personality that is Anthony Joshua, the boxer, which is why you saw Anthony Joshua in the ring, spend so much time in the ring, so much time signing autographs, so much time spending time around it, because there's a new incarnation of Anthony Joshua, and I think it was a clever move. In this instance, Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather, they fought too late in 2015 when they were 36 and 37 respectively, I think.
They're 47 and 48 now.
Yeah. So it is some would say a cynical land grab, a financial opportunity. But if people are prepared to pay it, and Netflix are prepared to put it on, and people want to watch it on their Netflix subscription, and people want to subscribe to it, no harm, no foul.
Well, the thing is as well is that Netflix actually obviously clearly are starting to move into the sporting arena. We've seen NFL on Netflix over the course of the last year.
Yep.
They've bought the rights to the Women's World Cup in 2027 in America. They've got they've just taken over Warner Brothers Discovery, and they're going to swallow up a load more content there. And
so they should. They've got. This is a natural
progression.
It's a natural evolution. Netflix started as a concept that used everyone else's content, and then started to commission their own content. They started to make their own films. You know, The Irishman was a film made for Netflix with Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci, and they started to build out their own content. They're now a business that has huge reach, huge opportunity, and sports is a massive passion centre. It's a massive driver. Why would you not have versions of sport. They've dipped their toes in with Drive to Survive and all the other different shows that have ultimately been in the past, whether it was them that did Drive to Survive, I can't remember. But so, and I'm surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Amazon come and play more regularly in this. And what it is, and what it should be, is good for the sports in terms of the economics that they bring to the sports. The more eyes that are on the prize, the wider the net, the bigger the interest levels come. I remember talking to Turkey Ala Sheikh about Netflix, because obviously he's got an interest in DAZN.
Yeah, but he's now using some of his...
He's a disruptor. He wants to disrupt. He wants to keep everybody off balance. He wants to keep, his idea was, everybody thinks I'll put it on DAZN, I'm going to stick it on Netflix, because he wants to move the pieces around the chessboard and see where they come off and see what opportunities they can create for their outcome. Hence the reasons why, Dana White, Eddie Hearn, Conor Benn, Turkey Ala Sheikh, all these different moving parts. But what it does is, because there is an inherent belief in Saudis that boxing can become a much bigger sport. They don't see a glass ceiling. They were talking to me about making it one of the biggest sports in the world. Now, it engages people, but when you look at the biggest sports in the world, football, cricket, because of the
eyeballs dwarf it.
Yeah, because of the eyeballs that are in certain continents that watch cricket, and other sports that are, the NFL that have massive audiences because of the North American contingent. And boxing has lost its luster in terms of it doesn't have the same broadcasting deals that it once had back in the day with Showtime and HBO and all of those sort of people. But it's coming around again, and there's an inherent belief in amongst the Saudi contingent that the reason why they're boxing is a landscape for them. They couldn't break up golf. They tried to do what they wanted to do in golf, and it hasn't achieved what they thought they were going to achieve. They can't own football, but they can potentially own boxing because it's a Wild West. It doesn't have the same sort of governance. So the scale of opportunity and the Netflix of the world showing product, whether we think it's a good product or not, whether we think watching two 50-year-old men, nigh on 50-year-old men, having a dance that was 10 years too late when they were in their prime and is now 20 years too late.
But our view is irrelevant, isn't it? Because the data obviously says it's going to be successful. Obviously, they wouldn't be doing it.
Well, Netflix are not doing it for the good of sport. Exactly. They're doing it because they've got 300 million subscribers, and they can keep those subscribers by adding content in there, and they can get new ones. And it's a business model. It works. The boxers get more money out of it. What I'd like to see is the ecosystem getting more money out of these sort of things. But I'm not offended by it. I see it what it is. In the same way, despite the protestations about Conor Benn and Chris Eubank, and I was called a curmudgeon, I saw that for what it was. It isn't, to me, the elite end of boxing.
That was our pick of this week's Real Deal with Selco Builders Warehouse. For the latest special offers, pick up this month's Real Deals in branch or view online at selcobw.com.
The Real Deal on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's Real Deals at selcobw.com.
The CEO and Director of Football at AS Monaco is going to join us next on talkSPORT.
Let's go to Matt. He's a Spurs fan. All right, Matt?
Right, matey boy.
Hello, mate. Yeah. Fair enough.
Got to swallow it today, matey. It's one of them,
I know. Well, we've had to swallow it for a while now, haven't we? But at the end of the day, none of these players are sort of like, they say football's war without the bullets, and you wouldn't want any of them in the trenches, and none of them are stepping up.
No.
I mean, the only way I reckon you could get them to flipping actually pay attention would be hit them in the wallet. I mean, Van der Ven, I'd fine him 2 weeks' wages for the way he acted on that pitch. I'd probably fine the whole team a week's wages for the way they played, apart from maybe Morani. I mean, Vicario wasn't the worst player on the pitch. Normally, he's a nightmare. He makes Bobby Mims look like Pat Jennings. Do you know what I mean? It's like...
I mean, I was disappointed in Van der Ven. I don't look...
obviously I've seen the videos and the context can maybe get taken out. I don't really know the exact moment in the game what he was asking him, but Igor Tudor was obviously asking him to step up, and Van der Ven just kind of dismissed him, which didn't look great, I'll be honest. But
yeah, but he did the same. He did the same thing to Frank, didn't he? Thomas Frank. He was like dismissing Thomas Frank.
The thing is, Van der Ven is too good for this team. Like, there's no getting away from it. He's way too good to be playing at this level of football.
But you need him.
We need him. That's the problem. Like, we need him right now. Like, I get it. Like, I get it, Van der Ven. Like, you're playing in a team that you don't deserve to be in. Like, he's way better than this. But and right now, he has to swallow it. He has to swallow it, and he has to be a leader, and he has to deal with it. Like, all of them have to. And this is the problem. There's some good players in this team, but they don't want to swallow the fact that they're...
talkSPORT Sports Update powered by the Nissan Van range. Commercial vehicles built around your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 12:01, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. Michael Carrick's trying to deflect praise for him onto his players after Man United won a tight game at Everton to keep themselves comfortably in the top four. Adrian Durham tells us the new manager is emulating Sir Alex.
It was a throwback. Carrick understands the DNA, so there's a lot of positivity right now. Even if they don't quite get it right, Man United, they still managed to pull it out of the fire. So, yeah, all is positive right now.
So, should he get the job full-time? Simon Jordan?
I'm loath to leap in for it or against it. I think he's done brilliantly well. Ruud van Nistelrooy came in and did 4 games, and on the back of that, he got the lesser job and turned to be a bit of a disaster, didn't it? And so, with due respect, I think there's no need to rush.
There's more at talksport.com. Ashraf Hakimi says accusations of rape made against him are false. The PSG right-back and Morocco captain has posted on X to say he calmly awaits his trial and the truth will come out. Now, we're told if this gang violence in Mexico continues into March, FIFA may be forced to consider moving World Cup matches. Here's Ben Jacobs.
If it goes away and then calms down, which is what everyone's focused on, the feeling is that it would be unlikely to return come summer because actually the World Cup would benefit those that are currently involved.
62 people have died in gang violence in Mexico since an operation killed drug lord El Mencho. And Swansea fans are getting complimentary towels tonight ahead of their championship game with Preston. Co-owner Snoop Dogg is going to be at the Swansea.com stadium for the first time. He wants the towels twirled when he walks onto the pitch. It's common in American sports. We've got Middlesbrough versus Leicester live on talkSPORT 2 later.
talkSPORT News.
The inquiry into the Nottingham stabbings will be a turning point for society, and Russell Brand has pleaded not guilty to 2 sexual offences. There's more from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Come rain or shine, we've got your electric car covered with 400 EV ready centres, so you can drive away happy every time.
Across the northwest, breezy with occasional rain, elsewhere cloudy but mainly dry, turning brighter from the south this afternoon with some sunny spells.
Yes, it's talkSPORT with Sam Matterface and Simon Jordan today. Jim back tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Tonight we've got... He's I don't know where he is actually. I was hoping to see him last night actually, but he wasn't at the leaving do. I was
hoping he's gone to Dignitas.
Oh, that's outrageous. He's in Malaga.
I know he is. I avoided him like the plague when I was out there.
Kick-off with Adrian Durham and Charlie Adam tonight. Darren Ambrose on that show as well. Newcastle Carabag, Middlesbrough Leicester, Hull Derby and Watford against Ipswich. We take you round the grounds. Middlesbrough Leicester, by the way, is live on talkSPORT 2. Tomorrow, the second leg of Real Madrid against Benfica in the Champions League playoff second round is live on talkSPORT with the former Benfica defender Scott Minto and Jim Proudfoot. Looking forward to a big week of Champions League action, as I am sure is our next guest as well. Tiago Scuro is the CEO of AS Monaco. He is also the Director of Football and he joins us now. Hello, Tiago. Thanks for coming on the programme.
Hi, big pleasure to be with you. Good afternoon to everyone.
Thank you very much for coming on. I know that you've got extensive experience of being a sporting director. You were in the Red Bull system for a long time. Before you moved to Europe, you were the sporting director at Red Bull Bragantino, where you led the club from the Brazilian second division into the top flight and to the Copa Sudamerica final. You were hired as the director of football in July 2023 and promoted as CEO in October 2023 at Monaco. From a Ligue 1 perspective, how do you view the health of the French league in comparison to the dominance of the Premier League that it currently has, especially financially?
Well, actually, I think as not only France, but different European leagues having a lot of challenge to compete with Premier League by all the success, especially on the commercial level. The growth of revenue and financial capacity of Premier League clubs is increasing a lot in the last years. Looking for French market itself is a very rich place in terms of players development. Several clubs around the country has strong academies. Top talented players are growing every season. We are today the youngest league between the top 5 leagues. So a lot of young players are having the chance to play. And as we all know, is the best way to develop them. So players trading is becoming the first tool that the French clubs has to keep competing on European level and also making our football strong. And on the last 2 years, I would say we are facing some crisis in terms of the TV rights, broadcast revenue, with different broadcasters, contracts going in and out. And now is the moment where the clubs are working strongly to find a setup that can bring better perspective in commercial way for French football. But I would say that it's getting more and more challenging for us to keep competing, especially on Champions League level.
It was interesting you mentioned the broadcasting there, because it has been a bit of a diabolical situation, really. There was at one point, I think it was that one broadcaster was struggling so bad to get subscribers that they were giving away a 3-month trial to a channel with a McDonald's meal. Why is it so difficult to get eyeballs on Ligue 1?
Well, it's different problems in several directions. I would say the first one, which is very strong, is piracy. So working against piracy with a lot of new technologies and access to the games in place is being one of the challenges that we have. And this challenge is wider than only football management. It's also a country topic, because we need clear rules and policy in order to control this. Besides this, we have a different challenge in terms of the way the distribution is being done, especially on the streaming new setup. Traditionally, the French football belongs to the main channel we have in the country, which is Canal Plus, is the current owner of Champions League in France. After that, we had different broadcasters struggling to put themselves in a good position inside the market. Since last summer, the clubs had decided with the league to launch the Ligue 1 Plus. It's an own channel managed by the league. We are achieving good numbers in terms of subscriptions and quality of the production. It's a growing product, I would say, but we are still having the challenge to generate more revenues, especially through the commercial approach. It's a very still not mature process and organization. And for sure, we have a lot to learn with top leagues as Premier League in terms of how to make in this, generating more money to the clubs to be able to keep investing.
I mean, it's a fascinating thing, because that's a needs-must scenario in terms of creating a broadcasting outcome. I've been in the camp for a long time of advocating for the Premier League to create its own proposition and become a Netflix of football with the audience. Of course, piracy is a massive issue. It's a massive issue for the UK broadcasters because of the price point that broadcasters are trying to charge. I mean, when you look at the distributions that you're getting in broadcast revenues, what kind of numbers are you getting? I mean, we see in the Premier League, we see that the average, a relegated team will get something like 125 million euros. So a team that finishes 20th in the league. What kind of broadcasting revenues are you getting in Ligue 1?
Whoa, you're far away of this. Would be a very beautiful scenario if we had the revenues on that level. I would say that relegation club in Ligue 1 will be touching something around €4 to €6 million per season in terms of domestic rights.
Wow.
Clubs, of course, that play European football have a better position, like I said, Monaco in the last 2 years. But qualifying to Champions League became a kind of a survival mode for several clubs in our level.
How about the commercial revenue? Because one of the things that I noticed when I was in Germany, and it's not specific to your league, of course the broadcast deals in the Premier League are dwarfing everybody else's. Serie A's not happy with it, La Liga's not happy with it because of the scale of it. But what I did notice was that the commercial revenue streams that were able to be achieved in clubs around Europe were significantly greater than in the UK. That's why the Americans are buying so many UK football clubs, because they think that the commercial opportunities to monetize the football clubs through sponsorships are more significant and underutilized. How are you finding yourself in a commercial marketplace to bridge the gap between what you don't get in broadcast revenues and what you can get in sponsorship and other collateral?
Yeah, one thing is the individual commercial capacity, and this is related to each brand, each club.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the commercial capacity of the league itself. Basically, the process is very in the early stage in France. Was a lot focused on creating quality, on producing the content, on distributing it, on attracting subscriptions to the platform. But we have a naming right on the league today, which brings some revenue. But despite this, not really relevant incomes on the commercial part, which is also a big opportunity that we have domestically and also internationally, considering the number of countries and markets that would be targeting French league as a product. It's a very exciting game, a transition, very fast speed game. In terms of intensity, it's the second most intensive league in the world, only behind Premier League. So the future talent players are, a lot of them starting in Ligue 1. And those are the assets that, in my vision, there is opportunities to explore in a better direction in order to bring more interesting in revenues.
Yeah, one of the issues is obviously is that despite developing a lot of talent, what happens is they then get cherry picked off by the bigger clubs around Europe. And one of the biggest is PSG, who are the current European champions and completely dominant in League 1. Okay, so last week going into the first leg of your game, they had just slipped out of the top position to be overtaken by Lens, who's been on a fantastic run, an absolutely unbelievable run. But PSG do seem to win almost everything, don't they, in France? And does that leave you, a club like Monaco, jealous? Do you feel like they've almost got a little bit of favouritism and it's all sort of geared up for them?
Yeah, of course, that is a big challenge for every French club to compete by the distance we have nowadays in terms of investment, maturity of project. Is an owner that is for more than 10 years investing systematically every year. Even when you take a look on the current squad of Paris, there was a change of policy, which is being very well discussed. But on the last 3 years, we are talking about almost 800 million euros invested in players. One thing is having this level of resource to build your squad, your team. The other thing is having clubs like Monaco, Marseille, Lyon that has the challenge to compete against Paris with something between 100 and 200 million euros budget. So you're talking about 4.5 times less. But this is not a unique situation in France. Bundesliga has a similar setup with Bayern Munich. When we take a look on Premier League as well, the dominance is between 2-3 clubs. For me, this is not a reason for not being able to develop the league in a better direction, to bring more revenues, to promote the product more and more, which is important for French football to be more competitive on international level and keep building our clubs. Stronger clubs will provide a better league. And this has to be the mindset overall.
Was one of the reasons you brought Paul Pogba to the club for commercial gain as well as footballing game? And why hasn't it really worked out for him? He hasn't been able to keep fit for too long. And do you think you'll keep him in the summer?
Well, Paul, first of all, was about performance. It is about performance, the first step. Paul is a very talented player with a different tier than we are used to have in Liga. He was coming back. He's coming back from 2 years without playing. We knew that the challenge to bring him back would be high. Of course, that he brings also an impact in terms of visibility to the league, to AC Monaco, commercial revenues, all of this. But as we all know, the player must be on the pitch performing for everything to work well. And at the end, we started this process in the summer with a very high expectation. It's costing a lot for him to be able to be consistently on the pitch. He had few minutes during the season, which showed his level, his capacity. And we are still pushing for him to have more time on the pitch at the end of the season. And considering what is going on is both hands discussion in the summer, if Paul is still willing to keep facing this process, and also in our side, on the right moment, we're going to have this conversation. I would say today that both directions can happen by Paul's position or even the club. And now we are focused on giving him the opportunity to be more on the pitch and show that he's still able to play for a few more seasons.
Okay, you've got PSG in the second leg tomorrow. You're 3-2 down from the first leg. If Golovin hadn't been sent off, you might have been in a completely different situation. 2-0 up at home to Paris, and it all went wrong after that. So what happens when you get to the Parc des Princes?
Well, we are going fully with the mindset that we are able to face them. At the end, our second half with 10 men, we did well, conceding only one goal against Paris. We saw the level of substitutions, the quality of the squad. They have one of the best coaches in the world, is the current champion of Champions League. No doubts about their quality. But if we have a strong mindset on the game, if we keep ourselves together, if we follow the game plan, we are able to qualify to go further. This is the mindset we've been working on the last 2-3 days, especially here. And we go fully with this objective, knowing how hard it is, but we have the capacity and the tools to go there and make a very good game tomorrow night at Parc des Princes.
Stick with us. Is there any chance we keep you for a little bit longer the other side of the break and just ask you a few more questions about multi-club ownership, the role of a sporting director, etc., etc.? Just stick with us for an extra few minutes. Is that okay?
Sure, will be a pleasure.
Thank you very much. That's Tiago Scura, who is joining us as the CEO of AS Monaco, live on talkSPORT. This is Sam Matterface with Simon Jordan and Selco Builders Warehouse. It's where the trade go.
Adrian, good morning.
Good morning, Adrian.
Good morning, both of you. I've been listening to the show, terrific show this morning, and I don't know how I do it either. But come on, I'm nowhere near your level of mileage.
I'm not sure, mate. I'm not sure. I think it's a close run thing. Adrian, ask the question now. I mean, are Manchester United actually quite good?
They weren't particularly good last night, I've got to say. They weren't great to watch. I mean, it wasn't a brilliant game of football, let's face it. Everton were no better, so it wasn't great. But the one moment of magic, the one real bit of quality was the goal. The ball from Cunha is fantastic. The run from Sesko, sensational. Perfectly weighted pass from Mbeumo, and the first-time finish was first class. So it was a brilliant goal and just one brilliant moment. But that's all they needed. Sometimes when you're not playing well and you do that, it's fantastic. And they got the 3 points. For United, it was a bit of a throwback goal, I found. I said this last night on the show. This was, United playing on the counter, winning on the counter, scoring on the counter. And this in certain times in Sir Alex Ferguson's reign, that's exactly what Manchester United did. So it was a throwback. Carrick understands the DNA. So there's a lot of positivity right now. Even if they don't quite get it right, Man United, they still managed to pull it out of the fire. So yeah, all is positive right now.
Adrian, should we be shocked at what Manchester United are doing? I mean, Mbeumo, 71 million, Šeško, 67 million, Cunha, 63 million, all involved in that goal. That's what they should be doing, shouldn't they, for the money that's been spent on them?
It's talkSPORT, it's Sam Matterface and Simon Jordan. We've got Thiago Scura from AS Monaco alongside us. He's the CEO of the club and the director of football as well. Following Edu's departure in the end of 2024 at Arsenal, you were one of the candidates to take over as sporting director at the Emirates in the Premier League. Is that something that you would be interested in the future? And is that always the end goal for sporting directors around Europe, that they want to get into the Premier League?
Well, I'm not obsessed by that. I don't used to do many projections in my career. I never projected myself being Brazil to be one day sporting director, general director of AS Monaco. I'm pretty much focused on the daily situation, delivering the challenge, creating a sustainable process inside the clubs that I've been working to. And if I do this well, keep doing this well, developing good results, it's normal to have opportunities on the next step. For sure, Premier League is a very exciting league, a place where you have a lot of resources to develop your position. And who knows? Never know. I'm very focused in Monaco today. Maybe one day can be the next step.
We've obviously, Simon and I were just talking about multi-club ownership, and there's lots of discussions about that here. You came through the Red Bull system of multi-club ownership. Strasbourg's link with Chelsea has come under real scrutiny in France, hasn't it? How is it perceived now? Does it sort of dilate the status of a club if they're one of the sort of smaller members of those multi-sport groups?
Yeah, we are also a multi-club group with Cercle Bruges in Belgium. So Monaco is the owner of a club in Belgium. We have more well-known groups and big and longer like Red Bull and City Group, which are playing this for years. As you mentioned, Chelsea and Strasbourg are cooperating a lot, doing a lot of deals between the clubs. For me, it's a health system, helps to develop in different directions, not only in players' development, coaches, as we had the example of Strasbourg and Chelsea, but also on the business side, which other groups are being able to develop. For me, the most important thing is that those relations doesn't touch the integrity and the fairness of the game in terms of regulations. The way you make those clubs cooperating should be played in a way where everybody else feels respected, where the fans feels that okay, the integrity of the game is protected. We see UEFA working a lot around this, trying to provide more regulations, better controls, and in my vision is healthy to have it, but also it's healthy to keep the eyes on for the operations to be good for the football.
Can I ask you about the role of sporting director and how important it's become in the game? I mean, Frank Arneson, who I consider to be one of the godfathers of sporting director, is a very good friend of mine, and I watched him develop over the years when he landed at Tottenham and Chelsea, and obviously he's gone on to a variety of other different things. But we see the role of sporting director, we see how expansive it's becoming, we see how it has to find a foot in both camps, whether it's working with the first team manager or working with the ownership of the football club. When you look at your role and its importance and its direction of travel and all the things that I've just spoken about, how big a role is it now, and how important is it? I mean, I know you're going to say it's important because otherwise you'll be talking yourself out of the role. But how big a job is it inside big football clubs, given that there's always this argument about managers don't get to buy players, sporting directors are selecting them, managers are employed by whom, who do managers report into, who's more pivotal, a sporting director or a first-team manager?
Oh, it's a very good question. This discussion is very wide. First of all, the first step in my vision for this system to work well is a very good connection between sporting director and head coach. It's not possible for me to do the job of the coach and vice versa. So
should you be involved in the selection of a coach?
Of course, I think this is one of the tasks of the sporting director, to create for the ownership the football policy, what kind of football, what kind of coach, to organize the recruitment part on this direction, performance in medical. You have a lot of things going around. If we back 20 years ago, football was less complex in terms of number of people and number of areas. It was possible for a coach on the concept of the manager to manage everything. Calendar was smoothly. You didn't have so many games. The load of the number of areas and games nowadays, it's impossible that only one person can hold the power and deliver quality in every process, in every decision. There is a clear line between what's the main focus of the head coach and what should be the main focus of the sporting director. More and more, the changing on the ownership profile is also impacting on this. You always have to adapt the position according to the club, the organization. But I would say that is an important role inside the football industry nowadays. Not more important than the players, first of all, and of course the head coach, because they have the responsibility over the match every week, which is the desire of the fans, which is where the passion is. Our position, our job is just to create the resources, the environment, the principles to be followed. And on the last years, especially with the big turnover on head coaches, sporting directors should be able to give a continuity and consistent in terms of ideas to the clubs, even though you have to change coaches for different reasons. I see the position more or less like this in a general way.
What about the buying and selling of players? How does that play out? It's an interesting dynamic for you guys, because if you're employing a first-team manager, somewhere along the line, people would assume that the first-team manager reports into you. We know in the real world that actually doesn't work that way. But when it comes to buying players, there's always this conversation piece about managers not being involved in discussions, managers not being involved in the purchasing of players, managers not getting players that they want. How do you view, in your world as a sporting director in French football, and perhaps bigger and bolder if you get bigger and bolder opportunities?
Since I started this journey is taking decisions with the coach. Is not a coach desire without the consistency in terms of analyzing the player, checking if the player really suits and fits to the club, to the playing style, to the midterm strategy of the club. But also it's not healthy that the sporting director sign players without having the coach on board. Because one thing is the recruitment part, which is the day you buy and you sign the player. Then you have the other probably 50% of the success, which is the development of the player inside the club. And this mainly belongs to the coach. So if the coach is not engaged on the player that you are investing, you are putting in risk a lot of money. So this is the way I've been working in Brazil before coming to Monaco, and that's the way we operate in Monaco with Adi Hutter, our previous coach, and the same now with Sebastian Pocognoli. So basically, we made 2 signings on the winter now, both coming from England, actually. And in both decisions came the recommendation from recruitment. We discussed all the reports, all the information that we have. But of course, the coach is also signing this with us.
One more question before we let you go, just a short one. Obviously, because of the changing of the structure of football clubs over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, sporting directors becoming more prevalent in this country. It's been more prevalent on the continent before. Do you think that sporting directors get enough scrutiny? Because we always talk about head coaches, and when things go wrong, it's the head coach who ends up getting the bullet or whatever. But do you think that we should be focusing our attention a lot more on questioning people like you?
I think it's fair to receive questions, to be challenged. I think also must be considering which clubs we are talking about. You have clubs where the coach is much more powerful. The sporting director is more one other resource in terms of managing some decisions, some process, as buying players, signing players, dealing with agents. And you have clubs and organizations where the decision making of the sporting director is pretty much relevant. I think it's fair to be challenged, to have questions, and to be able to clarify which decisions were made, why. I would say that here in France, Brazil as well, there is a lot of accountability on the sporting directors as well. It's not only about criticizing or even pleasuring coaches and players. It's also a lot over the sporting director, which in my vision is fair to be.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate that. Thiago Scura from AS Monaco, the CEO and Director of Football of that club, joining us live here on talkSPORT. And PSG are their next opponents on Wednesday night. We'll keep you updated with that on kickoff as we bring you Benfica against Real Madrid tomorrow night in the Champions League for a right to be in the last 16. This is talkSPORT. You're listening to White and Jordan with Selco Builders Warehouse. It's where the trade go.
You may have seen it on social media, but I, like quite a few of you out there, actually woke up this morning to the sound of a big old baby crying.
It was very interesting. The likes of Goldstein and people on these channels, other channels, diving in, ridiculing, loving it when other people don't do well. That's too far.
No, that's not true.
It is true.
That's not true. I mean,
100%
that's not true. I'm not going to defend Andy Goldstein because it's not in my interest or I have any...
Andy, play this later.
But
if you want to be a good presenter and you want to go to the next level, don't take fun from other people losing their demise.
I'm not sure you need to lecture people about how they conduct themselves, Martin. But the fact is that you do that. You have no objectivity. So the reasons why you catch shrapnel is because you lack objectivity. If you are very subjective about situations, you become very defensive of it. No one's got any agenda against Arsenal. Nobody in this studio.
Well, that's where you're wrong. That's naive. Who's naive now? I was talking about somebody who works on this for this network, who for me takes fun.
So basically, your problem was with Andy Goldstein.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Well, anyway, your manager.
Right, I'll put my glasses on so I can read. Firstly, Keown, it's Mr. Goldstein to you, moaning. Marty Keown moaning like he's been bitten on the backside by Win the Dog. Let me just remind you, Martin Keown, Arsenal just beat the worst Spurs team ever, and you're screaming about it. A few days ago, you drew with bottom place Wolves, and the so-called invincible Martin Keown
Michael Carrick's praised the attitude of Benjamin Sesko. He came off the bench to score for the third time in 4 games. And our chief football anchor, Adrian Durham, says Carrick just understands the Man United DNA.
This was, United playing on the counter, winning on the counter, scoring on the counter. And this, in certain times, in Sir Alex Ferguson's reign, that's exactly what Manchester United did.
United are 4th and dreaming of Champions League football. Carrick's won 5 of his 6 games so far.
What a start. Would you give him, here's one for you. Would you give him the job right now? Give us a call. Neither would I.
That's that sorted then. Meanwhile, Everton are 9th, but have no wins in their last 7 at home. So is Hill Dickinson having a psychological effect?
Maybe it is, but let's be fair. We could say it about all teams. Lots of teams who've gone to new stadiums found it difficult. Yeah.
David Moyes told us Everton didn't show enough self-belief in the first half. Now, Floyd Mayweather's coming out of retirement for a rematch with a 47-year-old Manny Pacquiao. Mayweather will be 49 when they meet 11 years after he beat Pacquiao on points. Speaking over the weekend, talkSPORT's boxing expert Adam Catterall says he'd be interested to watch it.
They're both as retired as each other. They're both as active as each other. It's got that nostalgia feel to it. I don't think I'd be too against that, to be fair.
Netflix will broadcast Mayweather versus Pacquiao from the Las Vegas Sphere in September. And talkSPORT's Jeff Stelling says he's incredibly proud to once again be honorary president of Hartlepool. Jeff's reinstatement comes after Pool's previous owner, Raj Singh, was replaced by Landon Smith last month. Get more on the website at talksport.com.
Saturday, Owen Cooper and Konstantin Urso fight for the vacant British and Commonwealth welterweight title live from Derby. And later that evening, from Arizona, 2 Mexican world champions, Emmanuel Navarrete and Sugar Nunez, clash in a massive super featherweight unification showdown. And don't miss the zone's packed fight schedule in March, with a huge night expected on St Patrick's Day, live from Dublin as Jazza Dickens defends his WBA super featherweight title against Anthony Kakachu. That is on March the 14th, and it's the Magnificent 7 on March 28th, featuring the heavyweight boxing plethora of stars. Moses Atama takes on a seasoned elite in Jermaine Franklin, celebrating 45 years of Frank Warren and Queensberry promotions. All those fights only available on DAZN.
Boxing updates on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
And now we can talk to Adam Booth, who's in the studio alongside Simon and I. He's Josh Kelly's trainer and was last in the studio following Josh's victory over Bakram Murtazaliev. And he joins us now. I know you're going to do talk boxing with Simon a little bit later on, and Josh is going to do it a little bit later on with Simon. But after he beat Murtazaliev, you said Boots Ennis is not the only option for his next opponent. So who is?
Good morning or afternoon, and you're one of the only people that pronounces Murtazaliev's name the right way, so well done on that one. Xander Zayas for a unification would certainly be there, probably top of my list, and there's conversations ongoing. Doesn't seem to have a taste to come over to the UK to have the fight, wants it on his home turf, so that's a conversation that will play out hopefully this week. He could do a voluntary at the Stadium of Light, which is something else we're exploring, because I think with Sunderland going into the Premier League and having a good season, to end it with a local boy defending his world title in the stadium would be a fantastic party for the city. So that's something else. Something popped up today about Ryan Garcia potentially moving up in weight and fighting Josh, and that would be a battle of the Atlantic pretty boys. So at the moment, there's a lot of options on the table, and we're just working our way through them.
Must be nice to have those options, right?
Well deserved. Well deserved. Brilliant performance. A very, very good fighter. Hasn't quite got the props that he should have got, and people cite the David Avanason defeat as a sort of signposter. Adam's always believed in him. Now's his time. Make sure that Eddie and Frank and those guys make sure that he's looked after and promoted in the right way and gets all the opportunities that should be existing, because he's got real opportunities in front of him, Josh, and there's some really good fights out there. And, trying to, make a fight against Boots Ennis because maybe it suits Matchroom, it's got to suit Josh Kelly. It's got to be about Josh Kelly's opportunities and the right things for him. And the unification fights and getting 2 other belts is a huge opportunity in a fight that he can well win.
Ishmael Davis, who beat Kelly in 2024, asked for a rematch as well, or said he called for a rematch.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, he did that a bit too soon. I like Ishmael, but he lost his British title on Saturday to Bilal Fawaz, so that one is even further down the pecking order.
Should he have waited?
To say something. I think it was his manager, Sonny Edwards, that piped up more. But no, I like Ishmael. He's a good, honest pro, but Josh is looking up, not down.
And what's it like to be in a situation where you've got such a commodity like Josh Kelly?
It's a refreshing. I've been here before a long time ago with David Hay, and it's refreshing now to actually be on the side of the negotiating table that is the better side to be on. Josh has always had the potential to be a pay-per-view superstar, the way he looks, the way he carries himself, but also his style of fighting, and the manner. But he needed to beat Amirta Zaliev to actually get the attention and the recognition and the sincerity that he deserves.
Was it Valuev when you jumped on those boards to do the sparring with David?
No, they weren't boards. No, they were gothic. I don't know how they were gothic boots.
They were
a 7-inch platform. Yeah.
To make you much bigger.
Yeah, thanks for that.
I remember. I remember watching that at the time. It was fantastic. It's inventive, right?
Well, it was actually done as a joke. I don't know if you've got time for this, but we were killing time after the press conference to announce the fight. And we're just walking and we're delirious because we've been awake since 3 a.m. and David saw this gothic shop and decided to go in there. So we're walking around and he held them up and said, you should do pads in these. Yeah. Started as a joke, but actually caught on.
Very good. Just a quick word on Conor Benn. Adam, you were having dinner with Eddie Hearn. When he found out about Conor Benn's switch, what was the reaction?
It was a genuine reaction in him. It wasn't a business reaction. It was a personal one. And the fact that he didn't actually have a conversation with the fella once, that it all happened through a lawyer and through negotiations and through matching rights and stuff like that. And I think that's probably what he felt. Yes, it's a business, but money's not the only thing that exists in this world. And although Eddie's a businessman and a good one, he's also a fella that committed his own reputation to Conor Benn, defending him at a time when he probably shouldn't have been defended. And he put his neck on the line and had people like Simon and people in boxing having at him for it. And so I think a combination of everything probably stung him a little bit.
Yeah, you raised your eyebrows then when Adam said it's not just about money.
Well, I think in fairness to the circumstances, I don't know the strength and depth of the relationship. I mean, I remember speaking to Conor during the middle of it. I remember seeing Eddie come in the studio and I talked about his lack of preparedness to deal with the issue because he was trying to put a fight on and felt that he had lots to say about previous things and went quiet about this set of circumstances. And I think it was deplorable that he and Callie were trying to find a way round which particular drug you can fight with. And I do think, with due respect to Eddie, that if there wasn't a great big bag of money at the end of Conor Benn's rainbow, with the fight against Eubank, there wouldn't have been perhaps this investment. But only those two boys know. And at some point, Conor Benn will tell you, I'm pretty sure he wants to, his version of events about why he didn't feel the need to have a conversation with Eddie, in the same way that Eddie probably didn't feel the need to have a conversation with people when he up sticks from Sky and went to DAZN. I don't suppose he consulted with his fighters then either, did he?
Talking of big pots of gold at ends of rainbow, Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather Jr. are going to clash on Netflix in September, a professional bout. What do you make of the news?
I'm not surprised anymore. Nothing surprises me in boxing.
47 and 48.
Yeah, nothing surprises me in boxing anymore. What used to be the norm and make sense doesn't make sense anymore. Like up is down and down is up. Look at Misfits, for example, and how popular that's become. And the fact that boxing is being used as entertainment through a whole heap of categories. Now, these two fellas have earned the right to do whatever they want. They are all-time greats, and it'll be interesting to see the two old boys going at it.
Are you positive about it, that boxing is being used for entertainment across a plethora of different spectrums?
Live and let live. Honestly, I don't.
Does it open the door to more? I don't know, to more younger purists coming into the system?
Possibly. If you look at the demographic now of fans in these indoor stadiums when there's 10,000 people, for example, there's a whole load more women in there now and younger people as well. Whereas back in the day, if you look ringside, it would just be sort of old, miserable, gnarled hardcore boxing fans.
Like when me and Simon went the other week.
So it's much more commercially attractive, and the business of boxing as an industry has never been bigger than it is at this moment in time in Britain. So something must be good for it.
Yeah, and is it good for Is it good that Netflix is coming as a bit of a disruptor?
A disruptor, or just another platform and more eyes and a huge platform? Not a disruptor as far as I'm concerned. The more business interest there is in boxing, the more opportunity there will be for young fighters coming up to earn a good living.
We've got Fabio Wardley. Is that right? Next week in the studio, next Wednesday? Tomorrow, actually.
No, tomorrow, and
Daniel Dubois on Thursday. Is that right? What's your predictions for the fight that they're about to undertake?
It's a great matchup. It's a great matchup because they both got very, very obvious strengths and both got obvious weaknesses. And when I strip it down to it, I probably slightly favour Fabio,
right?
Because he takes it a little bit better. He's been worked over in a number of his fights and never once lost heart, or certainly didn't lose his power, and was able to turn them on a sixpence later on in the fight. Whereas Daniel has struggled at times when it hasn't gone his way. That's not to say that Daniel doesn't have the strength and power to absolutely flatten Fabio, because he does. But if I had to put, it's a really good matchup and a really evenly matched fight.
We've talked about Daniel a lot. Obviously, we had him in the studio, didn't we? Straight after the first Alexander Usyk fight.
Well, I mean, this is an interesting one because I was at the fight when he lost to Joe Joyce back in 2020 during COVID, and a lot was made, a lot of noise was made by his former mate David Hay about what he did in the ring, which I felt was a bit unkind because he didn't know all the facts behind it, and the corner should have done better for him there. He has this idea in people's minds that he has a gag reflex at certain times, but he didn't have a gag reflex against Joel Miller, and he didn't have a gag reflex against Filip Hrgović. So we know he can go deep in the fights. It depends, Fabio's picked a hard first title defence, but by the same token, if Fabio were to lose this fight, I think it's less damaging to Fabio to lose it, with due respect, although he's got a belt and he won't want to lose his belt, than it is for Daniel. Because if Daniel were to lose to Fabio, there's still this unfair stigma about Daniel and about Fabio and a backstory of where he came from. And every fight, besides the Justice Hooney fight, he's gone into as an underdog. He's gone into the Fraser Clark fights as an underdog. He went into previous fights as an underdog. He went certainly into the Joe Parker fight as an underdog. And the only one he didn't go into was Justice Hooney. And with respect to Fabio, he's got an equaliser. But if Justice Hooney could have punched a bit harder, he'd have been in even more trouble than he was in that fight, because he was getting beaten unequivocally. And it might be difficult fighting in front of his home fans at Portman Road. I think it's a great fight. I'm leaning towards Fabio. I don't think Daniel carries losses the way other fighters carry them. I think he's neurologically wired differently, so I don't think he carries losses the way other fighters do. So it's not so diminishing for him. I've just got a feeling that Fabio Wardley has the ability.
Well, not that we've noticed that, by the way. Adam, thank you very much, and cheers for bringing in those platform shoes.
I tipped Josh, though. I did tip Josh.
You did. Nice to see you. Thank you very much. Daniel Dubois Thursday with Don Charles in this studio. Tomorrow, Fabio Wardley. And later on today, Simon is recording Talk Boxing with Josh Kelly. All available on the talkSPORT YouTube channel. This is talkSPORT with Sam Matterface, Simon Jordan. We're here through till 1 o'clock.
Darren, good morning, mate. How are you?
Morning, Darren.
Good morning. Not bad yourself?
Very well, thanks. Thanks for taking the time to call us. What did you think yesterday? What's your views?
Well, at the end of the day, it's a bit of karma for Tottenham, isn't it? Going off for the back of what they did last season, the fans-wise, the mentality. Oh yeah, we'd rather lose a game so Arsenal don't win the league. So looks like they'll be in a relegation battle now, and it's come back to haunt them.
You must be pleased with a lot of the performances yesterday. Gyökeres, it's still a little bit of a doubt in people's minds because obviously they've spent a lot of money. And he's had indifferent games at times, but he was brilliant yesterday. Best performance with an Arsenal shirt on, definitely.
At the end of the day, he holds up the play well. You know what I mean? He brings other players into action and all that. And Arsenal lately, well, they're a team scoring team. You know what I mean? End of the day, it's not an individual. They can score goals from anywhere, But yeah, it's going to favour. There's plenty of points to play for. We're up against Man City at the end of the day. You know what the score is to them. It's going to be going to the last 2 games, 2 or 3 games. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's a marathon in this league now. It's not a sprint.
Brilliant, Dan. Thanks for your call, pal. I'm going to move on. Thank you very much for taking the time to call us. We've got Paul. Paul's a Spurs fan. Maybe not just as happy this morning, Paul.
No, mate, I've got disgrace really from our team. I wanted to phone up and talk about. No one seems to be talking about it. The foul by Kolo Muani on Gabriel yesterday.
Yes.
Shocking decision.
It's talkSPORT, Sam Matterface alongside Simon Jordan here. The story that's been doing the rounds over the last couple of days, you might have heard it in the news actually. Mexico's co-hosting of the summer's FIFA World Cup could be compromised by the eruption of drug cartel violence, which began on Sunday. The Jalisco New Generation drug cartel, one of the country's most powerful and feared criminal organisation, has engaged in gun shootouts with the Mexican military, blocked roads, burned vehicles in response to the killing of its leader, the man better known as El Mencho, in an army operation. Violence began in central west Jalisco state, where the code red security situation has been declared. It's spread now to a dozen more regions, and videos posted online show gunmen patrolling streets and smoke billowing over cities. At least 25 National Guard officers have been killed inside 24 hours. Now, Guadalajara, which is the capital city of Jalisco, is scheduled to host 4 matches at this summer's tournament. There's been quite a few newspaper articles in this country suggesting that the organisers, FIFA, should remove Guadalajara as a host city. Is this one of those stories, do you think, that we always get just before a World Cup? It's dangerous to go to Brazil, it's dangerous to go to Russia,
Yeah.
It's going to be a nightmare in Qatar, or is it serious?
I think it's probably more of a story that will go away of its own volition, but it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be reported upon. It doesn't mean that something like a World Cup being held in a city which is having some real challenges at this moment in time wouldn't be something that the media would necessarily report on. The interesting thing would be, from what FIFA view, what is the fallback position if they were to consider the utterings of the media class as to what they should and shouldn't do? What would their fallback position be? Where would they move it towards? How much infrastructure would have to be changed to be able to achieve it? I mean, I think it's, as you said at the beginning of this, I think it's one of those stories that will find its level and go away, and that they will gain control over whatever they need to gain control over, and reassure FIFA that this football tournament is not going to be prejudiced by the rumblings of internal machinations of chaos in their own country.
Should we ever listen to John Bonfiglio, who is a US journalist? He was on Extra Time overnight, describing the chaos that there is in Mexico right now.
Events from Sunday and the killing of the leader and the founder, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, also known as El Mencho. He's been for quite some time now among the most wanted criminals in the world. He's been indicted on various charges in the United States. The United States have wanted him for a while. They declared the Jalisco New Generation Cartel a foreign terrorist organization only a few months ago. And for them, this is a big victory. And actually, a lot of media are saying that this is a big victory for Mexico too, but it certainly doesn't feel like a big victory here. And only months ahead of the World Cup and only a few weeks ahead of the Intercontinental playoffs for this violence to erupt, it's a very strange decision for the Mexican government to have undertaken this action now of all times.
FIFA have said that they are closely monitoring the situation and they are consulting with the local authorities. The US government has advised Americans in Jalisco to shelter indoors until further notice, while fellow World Cup co-host Canada has cancelled flight to Puerto Vallarta Airport, and flight tracking apps actually showed many aeroplanes returning to the departure destinations around the world. It does feel like a situation that they need to get under control very quickly.
I don't doubt it. And I'm sure that there was good reasons for them to make the decisions that they did, despite the ruminations of a sports broadcaster. I'm sure that they did have a good reason for taking the action they did against this particular individual. I would imagine that it will settle itself down. But it'll be fascinating to see what the fallback position would be, because
They'd move it to the States, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but what does that look like? And where would they move it to, and how would that fit into the schedule? I mean, the Americans will have it, then they'll have it all, and then they'll decide which state is in, and there'll be an ICE outrage about what ICE are going to do with the people that are moving over there. But listen, the fact of the matter is it's not ideal, but the world that we live in isn't ideal. So there's all challenges, all kinds of things. I'm going to imagine it would have been factored into the uncertainty of the region at certain times, into the considerations of why this World Cup was awarded in this way, and they'll adjust. They'll adjust. I mean, you can't legislate. No awarding committee can legislate for the fact that an organised crime member has been taken out by the government. But I'm assuming that they will have enough of a resolve within their confines of their own infrastructure to be able to provide.
We have to be a little bit careful about, highlighting the fact, England are going to play their last 16 game in Mexico City. One, we don't know that that's definitely going to be the case, and two, Mexico City is miles away from Guadalajara.
It makes good copy though, doesn't it?
So there's a lot of sort of moving parts. And I know that Ireland is scheduled to play a lot of games in Mexico as well, but it's a big country. And Monterrey is hosting 4 games. There's 5 scheduled in Mexico City, but it will be interesting. It is worth following the story, I think.
Absolutely.
Over the course of the next few weeks. Thank you for your company over the last 2
You're welcome,
days.
mate.
Appreciate
nice
that.
to see you.
Jim will be back tomorrow after his little sunshine sojourn with Fabio Wardley in the studio. We'll see you very shortly. This is talkSPORT. Michael Carrick, unbeaten so far. A trip to Merseyside. They've enjoyed a bit of a new lease of life under Michael Carrick, haven't they? Got 5 games unbeaten at the helm. The only team yet to be defeated in the Premier League this year. And no side has claimed more points in 2026 than Manchester United's 15. But they do go to Everton. And it hasn't been a great start at the Hill Dickinson yet. They haven't quite bed in there yet. Michael Carrick, though, has been speaking pre-match, and he's looking forward to the trip.
Going away to Everton, I know it's a new stadium, but historically it's always been tough. It's always been the atmosphere and the supporters that they create. I think it's always been one of the toughest ones that I've played away from home, so we're aware with that. And then trying to be our best way we can. I think we've got things to improve on, but we've got a good base and a good foundation moving forward. Good spirit. So we'll have to draw on pretty much all of that.
That was Michael Carrick speaking ahead of the game, and it'd be fascinating to see how they approach it, Martin, because it is traditionally a difficult place to go, but Manchester United always seem to do well away at Everton.
They do. It's a fixture that they like traditionally. Just interesting the job that Carrick's done since he's taken over. Mainu particularly has come in and just torn up that midfield.